All right. Oh my God. Is it time? Is it time? I think it's time. I think we're time. I think it's time. All right. We going? We going? All right. Let's get to it. Let's get started. Oh my goodness. Holy Toledo. Holy Toledo. Holy cow. It's been a little while. Been a busy couple of weeks, but we are back with another stream, and not just any stream. Another episode of Snappin' Chats, where I get to sit down with a fellow photographer, or in today's case, a videographer, just chilling out, editing, and just talking about, our photo or slash video journey. Pardon me, as I'm used to these formats being all photo related, but now I gotta like pivot myself to a video format, but it's all good and fun and all that stuff. But yeah, no, life's been a little busy, crazy, but I'm so glad that we're able to make time, especially for continuing on to this fun format, which I remember I was talking with a few people a couple months ago about it. Oh my God, I'm on time. Hello, Kawhi. Good to see you. Good to see you as well. Yeah, no, we had a little bit of a delay, but no problem on that. Honestly, I'm not a stickler for time. We start when we start, and I'm completely fine with that format there. Actually, there we go. All right. I think I know which plushie you're going to want there. Now important matters, exactly. So we're back to it. But yeah, so yeah, no, so again, before I go into the rules a little bit, let's just do a little bit of some things. The shark plushie, I got Boba for you because you love Boba, don't you? So Boba will be sitting with me during the entire stream right here. But yeah, so yeah, we'll just do the quick little photos to the wall, as we added a few more recently. We did get a follow from Neffy Moon a couple days ago. Their photo that's going to be added to the wall here is this photo from Amkey, a Valentine's Day Harley. Honestly, I need to repost that, especially as the holidays come up. And then the photo for today's stream is this old ASIN photo, I want to say 2019, of Shine Cosplays, Mulan, and all that stuff there. So, but yeah, so before we get into the main subject of today's stream, as a quick reminder, is that this stream is basically being recorded as a talk show slash podcast format, and that will be uploaded later to YouTube. So any conversations on the chat will not be quite acknowledged on voice or on the stream itself, but I will do my best to acknowledge or chat with people in the text itself, because I don't want to be interrupting my guests, say like, oh, hey, how you doing, as they're talking some important fact or matter. I just like to keep the flow going as best as possible. Notifications has been a little bit downsized, if you will, to minimalize, just to help out so there's not too many interruptions to the show. And yeah, and if you do have any questions for my guests, please ask it away in the chats. I have a list already for my guest here. And yeah, without that little quick little bit of not introduction, I'm like, what's the word? I guess I'm blanking on the word. It's not an introduction, or I guess that little disclaimer. I guess that quick little disclaimer. That's the reason why I'm not answering quite the chat, and why I'm like acknowledging the chat right now in my voice. But anyways, yeah, let's get right into it. So today's episode, we have a very wonderful guest. We are changing things up just quite a little bit here. My next guest works full-time in IT in the Chicago area, but he is a frequent traveling videographer and photographer who travels throughout the year to dozens of cosplay conventions, to which he usually makes a number of cosplay music videos, basically video showcasing cosplays in the lobby or at certain areas of the convention. And he creates these videos and publishes them free on his YouTube. You can find his Instagram as well as his YouTube right here with exclamation guest. There we go. And but yeah, he's been doing this kind of work for so long that he's actually celebrating 10 years of cosplay and traveling to conventions. And according to his YouTube, he's created over 100 CMVs. Outside of doing all that media kind of work right there, he's also a big avid gamer. Always loved posting a lot of JRPGs and a certain card game, which I know I'll be asking certain questions to that. And he also is a big food critic himself, where his Instagram's always piled up with all different little reviews of restaurants he travels to. And I'd like to welcome to my next guest, Justin Pineda. Justin, are you ready? Are you ready, Justin?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's bring you up here. All right, hello, Justin. Can you say hello to the chat for a second?
Hello, everybody.
All right, perfect.
Really great to be here. Thanks so much, Eric, for inviting me to be part of this stream.
No, thank you so much as well for coming in. So do you want to give yourself a little quick introduction to everyone besides what I just said there, I suppose?
All right. So as Eric said, my name is Justin Pineda, and I'm a cosplay photographer and videographer. I travel to numerous events all over across the United States. As of today, I go to conventions such as Anime Expo, SakuraCon, my hometown con of ASEN, Anime Week in Atlanta, Dragon Con, Holiday Matsuri, KatsuCon, and most of the more well-known anime and comic conventions. And as Eric said, I'm also really into being a food critic. Every time I travel, I go to numerous restaurants and try out a lot of new things. I'm always a sucker to try out some new foods whenever I travel. Yeah, I'll go ahead and switch back to you, Eric.
No, perfect. Even better introduction than myself, I should say. So yeah, before we get right into photo editing, I always like to give my guests a couple questions just to start things out. So yeah, I guess what we'll start with is, like, of course, I usually ask my guests of when did they start their photography journey, or how did that spark begin. But I guess a bigger question: did photography start or videography start for you?
So even before I go to conventions, my inspiration came from YouTube when it first debuted around the mid 2000s. I always thought it would be really cool to come up with a YouTube channel and just develop so many of these amazing videos for everyone to see and everyone to get entertained. So even before I even started going to conventions, I was just brainstorming of what can I do to make a YouTube channel. So even before I did conventions, I did some stuff like some gaming videos. I used to do Let's Play videos, and I also did streaming. Did some streaming. I actually spent a lot of my money I saved on a capture card and to see how those kinds of videos would go through. Needless to say, it wasn't really my kind of forte. So when I started going to conventions, I've seen some people produce convention related content. One of the earliest creators that I've watched is a YouTuber named Convention Reviews. So he would travel to conventions all across the Midwest and do reviews of conventions. So I thought, you know what, that sounds very cool. So let me give it a shot. So my very first convention video, as a matter of fact, it was shot on my Samsung Galaxy S, I think it was an S3 camera. So it was at a con in the Wisconsin Dells called Daisho Con, and I did my own little mini review of the convention. And since then, I started doing my own reviews of conventions until I got to the point where I started doing cosplay music videos. I was actually recommended by Convention Reviews to start doing cosplay music videos. And this was at a con in Ohio called Matsuri Con, where I started using one of those little stabilizer thingies.
And what year was
Convention Reviews.
What year was that?
That was in 2016.
Okay.
I started using one of those little steady cam stabilizer thingies, and Cody of Convention Reviews recommended that I start doing cosplay music videos. So at the con following Matsuri Con was a con which is now in the former Radisson Star Plaza called Ramen Con, and that's where I got started. That's where I produced my very first cosplay music video, and the rest was history. I just kept going and going, went to all these different cons, released cosplay music videos for each of those events, and yeah, that's how I suddenly started my interest in making these kinds of videos, and look where I am today.
No, exactly, especially with thousands of subscribers that are on to your YouTube as well as Instagram itself. So that's kind of interesting, yeah, how you kind of started, like, I do remember those early days of YouTube where it's like, okay, it was just a wild beast. And I remember like me and my friends, we were just making a lot of uh not cosplay music videos, but like video game music videos, AMVs back in the day, and how it's just like such a small network that, you know, it was just easy to be you know, get that sort of like traction. But nowadays it's there's just so many users, so many content that's just so tough to like compete nowadays. So yeah, so you say you kind of like started making videos around that time. Did you ever take classes prior to that, or were you all kind of just self-taught yourself?
Oh, it was mostly self-taught. Um, for those who may not know about about my education, I graduated with a degree in computer science. But what some people may not know is that I also minored in communication. So I did have some filmmaking experience from the classes I took. One of my classes which was an elective of mine, was a film class, and that's where I just got just the simple basics of videography and cinematography, like angles and whatnot.
Perfect. So yeah, so you got a little knowledge there, but it was kind of like just kind of like that little bit where you just kind of just learn, and God knows YouTube was kind of growing around that time where you could find maybe some videos to help out a little bit more as it grew there.
Yeah, but if there was one particular YouTube channel that really excelled in me learning the proper steps of cinematography, it's a full time filmmaker, and you can actually find them on YouTube, and they have a whole bunch of videos giving really constructive film advice,
Hmm.
and it's usually the channel I recommend if someone were to get into making cinematic videos, not just limited to cosplay music videos, but for cinematography in general. I would say whenever I see a full time filmmaker video come up with a bunch of tips, I usually come out with so much more knowledge on how I approach working with clients, what clients want, how to communicate properly, and all these other different film techniques. It,
Hmm.
I would say without full time filmmaker, I probably wouldn't be here today. Knowing what with my knowledge of my with my videography.
So inadvertently, you kind of like watch these YouTube videos and basically kind of saved up the money of taking any directing classes that God knows I had to pay for in my college tuition.
Yeah, yeah. It's mostly stuff I learned from YouTube. Um, I didn't really pay to go to any kind of online film school. I know full time filmmaker has an online course, but I didn't subscribe to that at all. I only went by the videos that they released on their YouTube channel.
Okay. And another question I usually ask my guests is, especially because sometimes some people might have some clever names or interesting. So, how'd you start branding yourself for your business? Did you have any sort of other name, or did you just kind of just keep it to Justin Pineda itself? So,
Okay, so there is a funny story about that.
hmm,
One thing I absolutely suck at is is coming up with my own brand name.
hmm,
Um, so I can tell you a little embarrassing story. Back then, I used to be called Dawn Light. So
hmm.
like you know the dawn, like dawn or dusk, and then light, because I was just so because I played a lot of games with the name Dawn in it, and it just really stuck at me. But after a while, I just got tired of it, so I just went with my full name, and then my name used to be called Justin Pineda Photography and Video, but then I just wanted to shorten the name, so I just changed it to Justin Pineda Media. So here we are today,
No,
and I felt just saying Justin Pineda Media, it just makes sense.
it flows a lot better. Yeah, God knows, like when
Yeah,
I started, like right out of college, I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to do film and photo. So I was like, Eric draws film and photo. But then, at least for me, over time, I just realized I was just getting more photo work going on there. And hi, sweetie, how you doing? Yep,
kind
are
of
the
cool.
cats there? Yep. Justin says hi. I'm just like, what's going on, sweetie? Yeah, don't worry, sweetie. Little surprise guest from the I'm always used to the cats making a surprise appearance on here, but that's a first where my girlfriend has popped in. So this is kind of cute and funny. Everyone says hi. But anyways, yeah. So anyways, yeah, after time, I kind of realized I kind of just went with the traction of just Eric Joss photo. And even then I was like, yeah, that kind of flows better. Even I tried to be like Eric Jaworski photography, but it's like, that's just too long. But I've learned like if you keep it to just 3 like sort of like words, it's easier to remember. And that just kind of works right there. So but yeah, with those introductions out of the way, are you ready to get started to doing some editing?
Yep, and as you can see right here, I got a little edit here on Premiere Pro. So, do you want me
hold
to
on,
talk about what I'm working on?
correction, Justin. I was supposed to ask this question a certain way because when I was giving Justin the introduction into like, all right, this is the format, this is how's it going to go, and I was going to be so Justin, what are you going to edit tonight? So I completely forgot to say that. So sorry.
I'm going to edit this super duper KitsuneCon video.
No, perfect.
How's
there.
that?
No, perfect. Awesome there. Even more showmanship than myself here. So I love it. So I'm trying to think of the format because as I said, we are kind of changing things up a little bit because we are talking a little bit more videography than photography. And obviously your format of how you approach videography or DCMVs are a little bit different than the usual photographers like myself approaching to conventions and such. So pardon me if I might have some of these questions formatted to photography, but I will do my best to try to phrase it into a videography standpoint. So I guess maybe we might just switch things up a little bit. And even though I usually have the fun questions of, just about the creator later, I might just start that off right off the bat. But Justin, what video games have you been playing lately? Because you are a big gamer yourself, right?
Yes, I am.
So what have you been playing?
Well, unfortunately, it's been a very, very busy month, so I haven't really been playing a lot of games lately. But the games I've been playing very recently, I got myself a Switch 2 at launch, so I've been playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom. That's a game I missed out in playing in 2023 because I was very, very busy that year. And right now, I'm just very, very stunned with how well it runs on the Switch 2. Not to mention, Tears of the Kingdom is such an amazing game. They took Breath of the Wild and made and improved in every single aspect over their previous game, which was already a perfect game as is. But it's just crazy that they made a perfect game even more perfect with Tears of the Kingdom. And I usually joke around that Tears of the Kingdom when I saw that Link was building stuff. I was like, oh, is this just Breath of the Wild? But it kind of has some kind of like Minecraft element to it. But after playing over 80 hours of that game, I was completely wrong about what I said. So Tears of the Kingdom, it was like the stuff in the game, like the use of gravity and physics, and how that works with puzzle solving. It was just absolutely fantastic. Like I loved every single aspect of all the shrines in Tears of the Kingdom with this new building mechanic.
Yeah.
And then another game I've been playing, I just got it recently. I've been playing Donkey Kong Bonanza. I haven't really gotten that far into it, so please don't spoil the game for me.
I am trying to still get more mileage out of my Switch itself. Like even then, it's like I still need to play. I know I should play Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch too, but I was like, I did technically start like the tutorial of Tears of the Kingdom on stream, but I didn't finish it because I was like, I'm tired, and then I haven't touched it yet. But basically, yeah. So no, that's kind of exciting as well. I'm kind of in the single player PlayStation 5 game stuff, so I was like doing a little BioShock, but then I impulsively bought Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And
that game is fantastic.
Have you played it?
I got that on PC, and I only got about like 7 hours into the game. I really, really need to get back into playing that game, but from what I've seen so far, I'm just blown away by the presentation. The fact that it was made by a small group, it's just mind-blowing.
No, same. I've been enjoying it a lot as well, and God knows I'm starting to feel the feels already there. So yeah, so I guess that is kind of like a bit where, you know, especially for us photographers, videographers, we always need that little bit of relaxation in ways, and I feel like video games is a good way for us to kind of cope or just decompress, if you will, to that degree. So what's what's been your usual go-to just to chill out to? Because I know some people are a little bit more of the multiplayer games, or they sometimes might just try to just play a single player game. What's your video game to go to that's ease?
So before the stream, I prepared myself for this question. So let me just show you right now.
Oh yeah. Yep. Oh wait, they got switch for. Did you just get that just now, or did you just have that?
I got
right
this
now?
when I was in Seattle. I saw it for a good price, so I picked it up.
Oh dang. So another thing which
Yeah,
you were saying?
go ahead.
No, you.
Yeah, that game, Balatro, it really changed the definition of games to just sit down and just relax. Because I can just get a full run of Balatro whenever I get bored or just want to chill out. That's usually my morning game when I have coffee in the morning.
Hmm. Now, are you one of those Balatro players where you have it on the mobile? Because I when it became free on PlayStation Plus, like back in, I don't know, was it April or May? I forget when. But either way, like I kind of got it, and then suddenly it's like, oh god, I got my card shark bug kind of kicking in there, and I'm just like, oh god, and I impulsively bought it. Oh, yep, you do. Oh my goodness gracious,
I think I have
are
every single version except the Xbox version.
the Xbox version. Dang, now that's a collector right there. That's you're just letting it load and play right there. So for those who don't know, like yeah, because it didn't win Game of the Year, but it was like a contender for it. And it is kind of interesting how it's just a simple card game with roguelike mechanics and just gets so addicting on every run. Am I right?
Oh yeah, especially when you can come up with combos that completely break the game.
So I guess speaking of combos, like, so what's your favorite deck? Because there are so many different kind of decks there to start out with. Or I guess maybe I'll phrase this first before we start talking about your favorite stuff. What's your best advice for players when they start Bellagio? Because it can be a little intimidating. Like, do I go for the multipliers or go for the jokers? What's the best advice when
So
you start
no
up a
run
deck?
is different in Balatro. You got to go with whatever is on the table.
Or you mean no run is
So
the same?
yeah, no run is the same. Sorry, bro. No run is the same.
Yes. It's all right.
Okay. Yeah, no run is the same in Balatro. So you have to go with whatever's on the table. So there could be situations where you get these particular jokers, and you got to go with based on what you get in the beginning, and you have to think of a strategy on how to utilize the jokers that are on the table. So let's say a bunch of jokers show up that favor the two pair hand. So you want to utilize your deck so that it could be used to fully utilize the jokers. So you might want to have a deck where you want to focus more on the two pair hand, and lo and behold, a two pair could be more powerful than getting a royal flush based on the way you utilize that particular combo in the game. And then later on in the game, you'll realize that you'll know a few jokers that are gonna end up being very broken towards the end of the run. I know in particular glass cards, steel cards, and if you get the Emperor Joker, the King cards can come in really handy for those really big those really big blinds where you're trying to go for like 5 to 6 figure amounts. So yeah, I would say just understand how every single Joker works, and don't worry if you don't get it the first run. You have to play it multiple times to understand how the Jokers function, how each Joker combo can be used. It took me a while to realize that having a lot of kings in your deck is very, very useful, and having a lot of glass cards in your deck can be very useful, as well as steel cards, because with that particular combo, you can just win with just playing one card, and you can get like astronomical amounts of chips by doing so.
What about stone cards? Because I always feel like stone cards are kind of handy, especially for like three of a kind or something where you just need those little extra points. Do those matter, or are they kind of just not effective compared to glass or kings and such?
So far, I don't really use stone cards as much.
Hmm.
If I had to use stone cards, it would probably be for. I know there's one Joker in the deck where it increases its multiplier every time you add a new card to your deck.
Hmm.
And there's also a Joker that lets you add a stone card to your deck. So that would be my only way to use stone cards, by using that particular combo. But still have to tweak around the game, see how I can use stones. But I don't really use stones that much.
Fair. So in along the lines of Balatro, how especially before you start every run, there's always different types of colored decks to which either they give you extra money, extra draws, or something like that. Which one is your always go-to to play? I know like there is like that mechanic in the game where it's like you want to try to like just play whatever stuff you have not discovered, and that sometimes unlocks new things. But after like a while, what's just a go-to that you always just like, I'm just gonna go with the red deck or go into blue deck or what have you? Those are just colors that just came to my mind quickly.
That's a tough one. I would say the one I use a lot is the checkered deck. Mm-hmm. That's the deck where I have the highest stakes so far. And by the way, as you beat each run, you get a different color stake. And with each color stake, there's a little challenge with each stake. So let's say I know one stake you lose one discard. There's also another stake where you don't earn money in the small blind. You don't earn reward money in the small blind, and every time you win, you get another stake, and you get that stake and every other stake below that. That makes your run even harder. And there's also a stake where you get eternal jokers where you can't sell at all, and they cannot be destroyed. They're with you for the entire run. And there's also I think it's called rental jokers, where you have to pay a certain amount of money to earn to keep the Joker in play. And I think there's another one, I forgot what it's called. It's the one where it will automatically debuff itself after X amount of blinds.
Like, I'm also trying to comprehend as a ball watcher, but I was like, oh, there's a lot of information to comprehend right there. So you were kind of mentioning a few jokers here and there. Was there any like particular joker that anytime it comes up, you just gotta be like, I gotta have it. I need to have this because
100% the Emperor Joker, the Mime Joker, the Ballot Joker. I forgot what it's called. The one that re-triggers the first card.
Mm-hmm.
It re-triggers the first card twice. I forgot what it's called. And also Photograph, because you get ×2 multiplier every time a face card is scored. So if you take the Photograph and the Ballot card and you combo that, you're gonna get a multiplier for each trigger.
Mm-hmm. So cool there. So moving away a little bit, Balatro, but at least talking still about video games. We did get one question from a fellow photographer, Haley, who's always kind of curious about your favorite JRPGs. She did technically ask for 5 of your top 5s, but I was like, oh, let's just keep it a little shorter and just keep it to 3. So what are your top 3 JRPGs? And
okay, so my favorite Japanese RPG of all time, and I'll always say this no matter what, is always going to be Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI has the perfect mixture of amazing gameplay, an amazing story, an awesome overworld, a fantastic villain, and did I say story? But it was probably the one that I remember the most out of all the Final Fantasy games. And the fact, I'm not sure if I'm spoiling this, but well, I don't know. Do you want me to tell a spoiler?
I think I have an idea because I have seen a little bit, but for at least our viewers, I think I know what you're talking about. So let's just save it for the viewers to learn on their own time.
Let's just say the spoiler is the villain gets what they want. But
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Fair.
And when I got to that part of the game, it was just mind blowing, and also getting it got very very emotional to me, where you get to that part of the story and tension is drawing really really high, and then you're this hero out here to save the day and looking for all your friends, and you go up and finally defeat the bad guy. Hopefully that's the most spoiler free way of me saying it.
No, fair. So Final Fantasy 6. So that's one of them.
Yep. And now this is going to be hard because I'm going to say Persona next.
Yeah, I figured.
It's really hard to choose between Persona 4 and Persona 5 because they're both amazing games. But maybe Persona 4 might be a little bit higher for me just because it was the very first Persona game I played, and I just fell in love with it like almost immediately. And like it had an amazing story. It's a story about it's a murder mystery story, and just trying to advance through the game as much as you can to learn more about the story. That was just very very thrilling. It had an awesome cast of characters, and I just love the soundtrack of the game and the social aspects of it. And then later on during the Vita era, we got Persona 4 Golden, and that was probably one of the best enhancements of a game I've ever seen. It took an already great game and made it even more great with all the newest additions to the game. Just like how Persona 5 even better with Persona 5 Royal, when you just can't possibly think that it can just get better than what it is today.
Yeah, I'm still going through my playthrough of Persona Royal on my Switch, which I was like, this is the best thing I bought on a Switch because I could travel this with me, because I've tried so many times on a bloody PlayStation, and it's like, but I want to play it everywhere. It takes so much time and so much energy and just so mental capacity to it. But I've heard, like, especially 4 and 3, those are very good games itself. But I will try to see if I can beat Persona 5 whenever I can. And then your third?
Okay. I think I have an idea for my third one. It's got to be the original Xenoblade Chronicles.
Okay.
So there's a story I have about Xenoblade. Xenoblade was a game that I didn't really get into when it came out on the Wii in 2012, just because it was a little the battle system was a little complicated to learn. Because that's a game where if you have to know how the battle system works in order to make the most out of it. Like I didn't know that focusing on one particular ability could really put your character at a big advantage over the enemy. But once you understand the gameplay, it's probably one of the most phenomenal experiences you'll ever have for a JRPG. So I know for some people think JRPGs are very very linear. You're following just a straight path. I know the biggest offender is Final Fantasy 13.
And I'm a sucker because I beat that game myself.
Me too. But Xenoblade is nothing like that. The game is already an open world right out of the gate. You can explore wherever you want. You can fight monsters whenever you want. It really does have that large scale open world that I personally really wish JRPGs would have a lot of. And once I played it on the Switch, I was just blown away. Every complaint I had about the Wii version was so much better on the Switch version.
Oh yeah, that's right. So
if there was one thing I can complain about the Wii version, was that it ran very very slow. The menu system was very very clunky. They didn't really make it easy to teach the game, but I felt that they rectified that on the Switch version. And like the other two games, awesome story, awesome characters, awesome awesome worlds to explore. And believe me, this game is massive. I would say if there was a game that could compete with Breath of the Wild in terms of the size of the overworld, I say Xenoblade is a good competitor for that.
Very nice, very nice. So kind of moving away from the video games talk, especially we're kind of talking a little bit more about how, and I think this is how the best way I could format like the flow of the stream is how you do travel to a number of conventions itself. We do have a little quick, have you been drinking water yet, Justin?
Nope, gotta redeem.
Yeah, got a little redeem for some water, so hydrate. Yeah, so you travel to so many conventions throughout the year, and God knows, like even like the number of conventions you have left in the rest of this year is like, because I think you have 10 more left. That's like not even compared to like my number right now for all the cons I've been attending this year. But I guess for anyone who does want to plan to travel to a convention out of states, what do you think is the best advice for them to be able to plan for that?
Know how to be smart with your money. I would say just think about plan out your budget, because yes, conventions are expensive, but there are different strategies to help you budget your money. I say the biggest strategy is to have people room with you, because when you have people room with you, when you think about it, you literally just cut whatever you owe the hotel in half for every person you add to your room. So let's say you book at a convention, you book a hotel room at the convention, and it costs $1,000 total. Just one person, and you just save $500. And then let's not stop there. Let's add another person, and then another person. If you have 4 people in your room, the cost of your hotel goes from $1,000 down to $250, and therefore you save $750. So roomies are very, very essential for every single convention you go to. You gotta have roomies in order to save your money. Oh, also another thing, I know I kind of suck at doing this, but meal options. If you're able to do a grocery run and are able to make your food, you could actually save a lot of money by doing so, instead of paying who knows how much for those overpriced concession stands at conventions that range from like $25 to $40 a meal. Let's say you are a Costco member. Don't be afraid to stop by Costco, grab a few things, like grab a big box of chips, a big box of grab and go stuff. You could save a lot of money by doing so. And in fact, I would say just one pack, just one big box of those ready to prepare meals could probably cost as much as one meal at a convention. Just one meal. So that's my advice for food. But let's say you wanted to fly to a convention.
I was gonna say
so as you know, I do fly a lot to conventions, and one strategy I do is I look up flights on Google Flights. So let's say I wanted to go to LA. So what I would do is I would do a Google search from Chicago ORD to Los Angeles LAX, and I put in the dates that I want to travel to. And I would see the prices, but one thing that you can do on Google Flights is that you can get notified when the prices go up and when the prices go down. So in this case, I turn on notifications for that particular date, and then when that time comes for me to book, I would get a notification from Google that this flight to LAX, it can go from $400 down to $250, and from there I book right away. Another piece of advice for those who are flying to conventions: if you know if your airport is a hub for a particular airline, I highly recommend getting their credit card. So for me, I have the United Airlines credit card. So because I'm very close to O'Hare, and that's my preferred airline from Chicago O'Hare. So with the credit card, one of the benefits that you can get is you can get a free check bag, which is something that Southwest Airlines took away, unfortunately. Um, so, and not only that, but if you have the credit card, everything that you spend for that entire month, you can earn points so you can book that flight with just using points. In fact, when I'm going, I fly to New York Comic Con this year.
Hold on one second, Justin. We kind of lost you for a little bit. Can you repeat that?
So, where did I leave off?
So you said like you were booking for New York Comic Con?
Yeah. So, for example, when I booked for New York Comic Con, I didn't pay a single cent out of my wallet because my entire flight was completely covered by using points or miles on United Airlines because I have the credit card and I was able to save up enough miles to purchase that flight without paying a single cent. So just building up those airline miles using a credit card, that's also another big plus if you choose to fly lots of conventions because they can really help you save a lot of money. And it not especially when you're checking in bags, even though the credit card is like, I don't know, I think it's like $120 a year. Just if you do 2 round trip flights, I think it's 2 round trip flights, that entire fee pays for itself. Because it costs around $40 to check in a bag, but with this credit card, you get to check in one bag for free.
No, so that's honestly pretty brilliant. Because yeah, it is kind of like that a little bit where it's like, yeah, it's like I started to like have like a account direct because I remember when I first started traveling with you, it's like, all right, I'm just gonna do Priceline Negotiator or Travel Kayak or whatever, and it was like, I just noticed there was just so many. Like even though like it was convenient, I just noticed like there were just so many issues. Like I couldn't change my flight or something like that. So then it just kind of started to be more creating my own accounts as well. Where it's like I got United, and especially because we're nearby of the of shoot Midway. That's it. I was like, what's the airport near me that we know? We kind of got Southwest as well, and honestly, yeah, you're kind of right. It's like, yeah, get the mileage, get the points and all that stuff. That is kind of important. Where it's like, it might be like something that might be a little extra, but in the long run, it will help you out, especially if you're a frequent traveler like yourself. I did get a little pop question from Kauai as you were talking about, like, booking for hotels, which honestly, hotels are kind of nice because compared to airlines, you do have to pay for that flight on the spot, while hotels you don't pay until like you actually arrive to you book or you come to the hotel, correct?
Yes and no. Make sure you read the fine print before booking a hotel. For example, some hotels may require you to do a 1-night deposit. I know, for example, Colossal Con North, Kalahari requires you to do a deposit for 1 night for every single booking.
Sorry, we lost you there for a second.
For that,
Repeat that.
That's all. So, for example, the Kalahari, when you book a hotel at the Kalahari for any of the Colossal Con events, you have to pay a 1-night deposit in order to secure the hotel space. And you also have to read the fine print because if you cancel that particular hotel room for the Kalahari, you do have to pay a $30 fee to do the cancellation.
So
also another thing, let's say you were booking from Expedia or any of the hotel sites. Be careful about hotels that have non-refundable payments, so you have to pay right away at a discounted price. Because if you have to cancel for whatever reason, there's no turning back. So be very, very careful about non-refundables.
It's like, as I said, like I think it was Katsu where I wanted to try to leave early, but because it was through Price or if it was through Kayak, I couldn't like book an earlier flight. So I remember it was like, that's what deterred me a little bit there. But yeah, so anyways, Kauai had a question as we're talking about hotels and airlines. Their question is, what's your favorite or least favorite hotel and favorite or least favorite airline?
Ooh, okay.
I was like, favorite yeah, that's a good
least favorite hotel and favorite or least favorite airline. Okay. So when it comes to my favorite hotel, I think this is pretty much a given. The Marriott World Center for Holiday Matsuri. That was probably the best Marriott hotel I've ever seen in my entire life. It was big. It had a lot of different places to do photos. It had an awesome pool. It had the rocks, and and I felt it was a really really good place to just to vibe and chill for a convention. Even though it did have some flaws, I would say back then one issue that I had was I decided to be a cheapskate and not pay the resort fee. The resort fee is optional at the Marriott, but you lose out on a lot of things such as the free internet if you don't pay the resort fee. But that's really the only thing that sucks about it. But overall, Marriott World Center in Orlando, Florida, one of the most beautiful hotels I've ever been to. Least favorite hotel, probably all the cheap hotels I booked at when I go to ColossalCon when I'm really really being a cheapskate and I didn't know any better about hotels, especially ones that are like are just very very rundown rooms. And I actually had a friend who got bitten by bed bugs at the cheap hotel one time.
Oh no, it's good that Nicole's not here. She's very paranoid about bed bugs.
Oh, believe me, I saw a bed bug one time. I also got pretty freaked out too. Okay, now for airlines. Well, I'm not sure if I'm a little biased just because United Airlines is our hometown airline, and that's where their hub is. So I would probably go with United Airlines by default just because it's my hometown airline and I have the credit card. So with all the benefits that they offer, of course I would say United. Even though Delta is also very very good, but unfortunately Chicago is not a hub for Delta Airlines. Otherwise, I would have picked Delta any day over United. Worst airline, Frontier Airlines, the a la carte airline that charges you for every single little thing. Yeah, you got to be careful about Frontier Airlines because if you don't pay for your carry-on, I believe it's more expensive if you do it directly at the airport.
Fair. So in terms of like talking about like all this travel stuff, you have traveled to a number of conventions. So you kind of like mentioned about Holiday Matsuri. What has been your favorite convention to travel and film at? Has it been like Holiday Matsuri, or is there one that tops that?
Well, Holiday Matsuri at the Marriott World Center, that's one of them. Obviously the Gay Hollera Hotel, because who doesn't like shooting in a giant glass bubble with really really awesome lighting, and then you have a gazebo and this pretty little area that's very similar to what you see in a wedding. But my all-time favorite place to film at, and I got to experience it last year for the first time, it's the Blue Mountain Ski Resort where YetiCon is at.
Ooh. How so?
So the way I describe the Blue Mountain Ski Resort, do you know what Disney Springs looks like?
A little bit, but for my viewers, please describe for a quick second.
It's basically like a small little village that's close to a lake, and you have all these shops and restaurants. So think of Disney Springs, but with so many cosplayers. So instead of normies, think of it as Disney Springs surrounded by so many different cosplayers. And not only that, YetiCon has some beautiful landscapes. It's in a ski resort, so you also have this mountaintop as well. And if you happen, and one thing that we did at YetiCon last year was we drove 10 minutes up, and there's this very very beautiful beach, and we got some really really awesome golden hour shots there. And if you go into my YouTube channel, if you check out my YetiCon video, you can see how beautiful the landscape is. So if I ever get invited to come to YetiCon next year, I am so down for that. I was just blown away by how awesome that venue was, and I would love to come back again.
Yeah, that's been on my list a little bit as well, but I'll figure out whenever I can attend it in due time. So you've traveled all across, America and all that stuff. Have you ever considered traveling internationally at all?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's just a matter of just financial stuff, because unfortunately, yes, traveling internationally is indeed expensive. I probably have to take a lot more days off for going, let's say, to London for MCM Expo.
Also
I know a few
MCM.
other videographers, they did like full week vacations there. And so in addition to the convention, they also got to explore the city as well. And that's how exactly how I would like to do it. I would like to do a full week at at an international place. Like for example, I would love to go to London, but instead of just going there just for MCM Expo, I actually do want to explore the city a lot more. Because I haven't been really traveling internationally lately. I've been mostly staying here in the States.
So yeah, no. So a little international is always fun. We did get a little explain that Graham from Kauai, to which I have a clip. So we're gonna switch it up instead of it being like just photos. We're gonna switch it between videos and photos. So let me see if I can pull this. I'm trying to think of the best way to transition to this, but I guess this is the best way for me to transition. But basically, I have this shot here that I think was from MagFest, I believe.
All right, let me see if I can get to that. I know I have to go to Discord for that.
So this is kind of like Justin does video.
Okay, I think I see your screen now.
Yeah, so I know you've seen this before. You've talked about this with me, but it's just so kind of cool to talk about cosplay music videos. But yeah, we got the Venti shot that you got at MagFest. So
that one, the transition shot.
Yes, exactly. So do you want to talk a little bit about this fun shots here and any fun facts about this?
Okay, so before I even talk about this, when I go out and do cosplay music videos, I always keep an eye on my surroundings. And lo and behold, when I was at MagFest, I saw these two Venti cosplayers, one wearing the normal outfit and one wearing the barbarian outfit, I believe. I think that's what it's called. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But I saw these two, and there was also a wall between. There's like a little pillar where I was thinking, I think that would be good for a transition shot. So I went up to the two Ventis and asked if they wanted to do a video recording. And I told them my idea that one person is going to be behind the pillar, and one person is going to be walking into the pillar, tags the other person, and then the other person walks out of the pillar in a different outfit. And that's how that transition worked.
And to say it, this is literally one shot. This is all a one shot thing that you had right here.
Yes, that was all one shot.
And that's just such a clever, yeah.
Yeah, so the way I did it was I set my focus to manual focus, because you don't want the camera to focus hunt when you go through the pillar. So I have to make sure the focus was spot on. And I have to make sure that they're following the same exact movement as me. Where my walking speed has their walking speed has to match my walking speed to make it look like a smooth transition. So that's one thing I always try to look for when doing cosplay music videos. I want to try to make the most out of my surroundings. And I just happened to see two Ventis, and I saw a big pillar. So I was thinking, okay, transition shot. Boy, did they give quite a reaction when they saw their clips when I previewed it to them. One of them guessed really, really hard. And they were just extremely stunned when they saw that.
Oh, perfect. And speaking of transitions, honestly, that kind of pillars right into like my question, because usually like how I always like to, now that we talked about like sort of like traveling to a convention and all that stuff, where it's like now you're at the convention itself, how do you usually prep for your usual convention stuff? Like what's usually in your bag, and what do you kind of like plan for when you arrive?
Okay, so there are a few things. If it's a convention that I've never been to before, what I usually do is try to get as much information about the venue as I can. I would usually go to the Facebook group and ask, what is the venue like? Which place has the best lighting? What parts I should avoid? All that stuff. I try to get as much information about the convention's venue as much as I can, and how I can utilize it. I also ask fellow photographers and videographers who also went to this venue. I know, for example, WonderCon. I asked photographers like DT Jam about what the venue is like, and what are the best places to shoot cosplayers at, or where are most of the cosplayers gathered around. And usually that's just my plan of attack. But I just try to get as much information as I can. But another important thing is you don't want to overthink it. You also have to just go with the flow. So let's say you got all this information, but then there's some other important details about the venue that you don't know about. Don't worry, just follow what the flow is, and you'll understand it you'll understand it eventually. I know, for example, when I attended Anime Detour out in Minneapolis, one thing I didn't realize about Anime Detour was the hotel was rather cramped, to be honest. There wasn't really a lot of breathing room at that event. So in that situation, I just winged it. Just make the most out of what I have, because when doing photography and videography, not everything is going to go your way. You got it's also understanding how to utilize what's on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I had to learn myself when going to conventions. But other than that, outside of photography and video, it's also very important to know if the venue has places to get water as well, because hydration is extremely important at conventions. You don't want to pass out at an event and overheat. I know I had some situations where I didn't have a water bottle in my backpack, and I was just getting super dehydrated, and I was just begging to try to find a place to get water. So knowing where to be hydrated, that's also another thing I look for, because yes, hydration is very important. Other than that, looking at the schedule, that's something I really need to get into the habit of, because I know a lot of the crazy cosplayers who bring out their amazing work are more likely to go to one of those gatherings. So understanding when those gatherings are going to be taking place gives you an opportunity to know where the best cosplays to shoot are at. I know the big one is Marvel Rivals. So at C2E2, for example, I usually try to find where all those gatherings are at, and lo and behold, I got some really awesome Marvel Rivals cosplays, especially one who had this really awesome Jeff the Landshark cosplay. I think I might be looking at the person right now.
Well, I was not technically at that meetup. Oh wait, oh no, I'm sorry, you're correct. There was the meetup that was up by the thing. You're right, but I remember there was another one that was like lower below. So either way, continuing on with that. So yeah, that's a good way to prep for conventions. So especially as a videographer yourself, what's usually in your bag? And besides the camera itself, what's something you never leave home without?
Lots and lots of batteries, because you can be shooting so much until you realize, whoops, your battery is about to die. So be sure to bring a whole lot of batteries with you at all times. Also, those power banks. That thing has saved me a lot during events, because yes, conventions could be very fast paced. And lo and behold, you may be in a situation where you're running out of battery for either your gimbal, your camera, or your lights. So having one of those can really come in clutch. You said anything other than my camera, right?
Yeah. So, that is kind of like an interesting point, where, because like I did used to do videography years ago, and it was kind of like that little bit where it's like, I remembered having so many SD cards and like batteries, because again, how it is running, even had like that like battery grip pack just to extend that amount. But especially as a photographer, it's like we don't have to. I feel like my battery life for whenever I do photos lasts so much longer compared to video work, because you are constantly just running and just taking so many takes while to that degree.
And also, just bring a water bottle, because you are going to hydrate a lot you're going to need to hydrate a lot at this convention, so you got to make sure you're prepared for that, especially for cons in 100-degree weather. For example, my second year at Anime Expo, it was over 100 degrees outside when we were shooting outdoors.
Oof, yeah. So I do have a quick question from Hanzo, who's here. he does ask, "What's the thing you hate the most?" And that's such a vague question. So, what's the one piece of gear that you hate most that you've used? That's how I'm gonna redirect that question.
Okay, Hanzo, the piece of gear I hate the most that I feel is trash. Um, okay, sorry, I have to do that because Hanzo's here.
Yeah, no, I understand why.
Okay, so pretty much any cheap lens that just break on me. I had a 16 millimeter 1.8 lens that I used for my ultra wide shots. That thing broke on me after a year of owning it, and I spent $600 on that.
Oof. Ouch.
And the worst thing is when it has very very crappy warranty support, because for this particular lens it's a Viltrox lens, and in order for Viltrox to service my lens, I have to ship my lens to China.
Oh, so just those off brands or whatever stuff there. Oh, yeah, that's.
Yeah. So since then, I pretty much avoid those cheap brands. I want to have a quality brand where I can get where I can get really really good warranty support should my equipment break. That's why I usually go with Sony lenses for my Sony camera, because I know I'm pretty sure that Sony has much better support than going third party with these very very cheap brands.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the only good third party brand that has good support is probably Sigma. But other than that, Sony brand lenses are probably my go to for all of my photography lens equipment.
So yeah, you kind of did mention about, it's good to have extra batteries and all that. Hanzo was kind of asking, but it is kind of like those, like, we kind of did question, but I'm trying to find a little good twist on it. What's the most useful piece of gear item that you have, but you consider to be underrated compared to, or other people consider to be underrated?
Pretty much just having an external light, because shooting at night, it can get very very challenging, especially when you have a lot of shadows in the frame. But just having one external light, and it doesn't have to be a very very expensive light, it can make a big difference when it comes to the quality of your photo or video. So maybe I could show you what I use.
Sure, if you
don't mind me grabbing it.
I do have like a question as well, but I feel like given that we are talking about videography, is like, oh, do you use strobes or continuous LED lights? But given that this is videography and how I also work in television, that it's continuous LED lights. So
I use these right here. These are 40 watt Julian lights. And these things are very, very powerful lights that I use for my evening stuff. And the great thing about this is not only are these very, very powerful, these are 40 watts, but look how small these are.
I was gonna
say,
like
these I can just put two of these, keep them on my backpack, and then if the time comes,
are they as big as my phone or something like that? Kind of like. They almost.
Let me just do a comparison.
I was gonna say. Oh, even smaller than the phone, just thicker but smaller.
Oh yeah, these things are absolutely amazing, and these things can come really come in clutch, especially if you don't have a lot of space in your bag, because another important thing about any gear bag is that you're going to run out of space very very fast. And sometimes your space can be very very limited too,
especially for travel.
And also the more you carry in your bag, you don't get a lot of mobility. That's why for some events I try to keep the gear in my bag as minimal as possible, just so I'm able to just walk around more easily. Because just carrying all this gear in my bag, it does add up. And you know how when you play Elder Scrolls or Fallout, if you have too much, you're over encumbered?
Yes, I definitely understand.
The same applies in photography and videography as well.
I actually kind of love that reference there. I always like to ask like photographers, like, what is like sort of like a weird analogy kind of thing like that. So like Carlos, he was talking about like his photo work or such is almost like baseball, where it's like you're battering up and, trying to get back to home base to finish your backlog. Anthony was like, his backlog is almost like completing like Gunplas, but I do love like your like Fallout / Souls like encumbered, where it's like, yeah, you got to find that right balance to be able to dodge and be able to be mobile. I do love that reference right there.
Yeah, because the less I carry, the more I can just run around and do whatever I need to do. Because carrying a heavy backpack can get very, very tiring, especially when during long periods of the day.
I know. I kind of have that little video game aspect where, you know, like how in some video games you do have like your little safe where it's like, all right, it's with you. You could just go into it at any time and pull items out. Um, you know, I kind of like do that where it's like I carry like a spare Pelican case with me and I just keep it in the back of my car for any gear that I might need. Or if like there just happens to be a moment where it's like, all right, I got a little break. Let me just swing over there, swap out any gear items, then go right back out. So I do love that video game analogy itself there.
Yep, and also another thing is with the way I structured my camera rig, I want to make loading and unloading my camera as easy as I can, and I could show you something.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my main camera right here. This is my Sony A7S III. This is my main video camera. So one thing you notice on the bottom here, I have an Arcus twist plate right here. So with this, I can easily just slide this into anything I want, like a tripod or a gimbal or a monopod, and then off we go. Like just being able to just freely let's say if I want to go from gimbal to monopod, I can just slide it out of my gimbal, put it into my monopod, boom, done. Rather than spend an extended period of time just struggling to switch mounts.
Yeah, the twist on such. Like I do love my Peak design, which is just kind of just handy, just for me to just clip it on, just be hands free. But no, that's kind of like a good aspect where you are switching between either handheld or you know, stands or something like that. So that is kind of like a good key important right there. So yeah, you were kind of like talking a little bit earlier about like sort of lenses, and even like during that shot there, is there any sort of particular lens that you always like to bring, or just like you just have everything out laced out? I just love it. But especially that you think it's just like a go-to lens, especially for videography CMVs, because I imagine you probably want to keep it prime, no variables at all, correct?
It really depends on what I'm trying to go for. So let's say if I was doing press at an event, and I know that I want to get some coverage of the event, I would most likely use a variable lens because one, you get all the focal lengths from 24 to 70, and two, there could be situations where I'm recording like an event and you don't know where everyone is going to be moving at, and being able to switch between different focal lengths on the fly instead of trying to switch primes saves a lot of time. So any event where you don't know what the subject is doing in your shot, I would most likely use a variable lens. But when it comes to something like Katsucon, where I'm trying to go for that cinematic footage, I would probably use a prime lens. And depending on how big the crowd is, that's how I determine what kind of prime lens I use. Mm-hmm. So, for example, Katsucon, I would probably use a 24 millimeter or a 35 millimeter, depending on the crowd. As you know, and you've been to Katsucon before, the gazebo area gets extremely crowded. So in that particular situation, I would most likely use a wide lens, so I'm able to get wide shots while still being able to shoot in very, very tight places like the gazebo area. But if I were to shoot outdoors where I have a lot of open space, I would most likely throw on my 35 millimeter and get that really, really awesome bokeh that everybody loves, which is the blur behind the background. But if you want to get really, really fancy, I can even go up to my 50 millimeter lens, which I don't really use as often for photos because 50 millimeters does get a little tight, especially at conventions. Mm-hmm. But if I'm able to get enough space to utilize the 50 millimeter, that would be my go-to lens and my ideal lens to use. And then when it comes to, let's say, shooting like from very, very far away, let's say I was in the back of the audience trying to shoot something on stage, I would probably bring my 70 to 200 lens so I can get that so I can get that reach without being too close to the subject.
Mm. Oh, perfect there. And then yeah, you were talking a little bit about LEDs, but LEDs are kind of nice, as you mentioned, for like darkness, or especially sort of like locations. Do you prefer using LEDs for a lot of your videography, or do you prefer natural light, or does it just really depend on the location?
Yeah, I say it really depends on the location, because while using LEDs are cool, there's also a little challenge where you're kind of limited, because you're always going to have something pointing at the subject, and let's say if that subject is moving, then the person who's carrying the light also has to move as well. And sometimes if I have a light stand, I cannot have the light stand in the frame, which adds a little challenge for me, because I'm trying to avoid having the stand in the background while I'm shooting my subject. So that's probably one of the big flaws of having a light stand or any kind of external lighting. Just knowing that you're going to have these kinds of, I'm not sure if I should call them hurdles, but these kinds of the things to watch out for.
Speed bumps, maybe something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
No,
like you don't want to have the stand in the background, or the person holding the light in the background, or in this case, if they're moving, you have to make sure that the synchronization between the light and the subject is perfect. That's a major advantage of shooting in natural light, so you don't have to worry about that stuff. Because having that external light, it actually does slow you down, because you have to worry about that stuff, but not so much with natural.
Yeah, I've had that like little bit where it's like the last year or so, it's like, okay, I've been big into doing like a lot of flash photography, but now I've been slowly getting back into natural light due to certain circumstances, whether it's like, all right, I'm in the middle of the water. It's going to be tough to really set up a flash or something like that. Or even one of the shoots I had was like on a side streets, and it was like in front of a Starbucks. So I'm like, I don't feel comfortable setting up a light and having people passing by and all that stuff. So it's like, you're right. It is kind of like trying to assess a situation too there.
Not to mention, some conventions actually prohibit you from using light stands. For example, Katsucon.
Yeah.
So you're limited to people holding up the light. Or for some other photographers, they become photography Blastoise and put the light stands on their backpack.
Oh yeah, I've seen the interesting contraptions, if you will, that some photographers are able to do. So I'm trying to think, what's the next question? So I do have a question from Leah Lux. As we're talking about, depending on locations and such, what's your favorite location that you shot that made you feel like you were immersed in the subject's environment, or the character's environment, I suppose, in cosplay?
Pretty much any location in YetiCon, because just the nature that comes out of that venue, with the big mountain, with the mountains, all the trees and all the foliage, and also all the water. Not to mention shooting in the beach area, you really get that feel of telling a story, as opposed to shooting in any convention center. I know, for example, when I was with Felix Dandy in the beach at YetiCon one year, there was this really awesome Yuna cosplay from Final Fantasy X.
Speed. What was the phrase? Like, oh, say it to. What's that phrase where it's like, speak? I don't know. Either way, you just say beach Yuna. It gets to my heart.
Yeah, so you probably know what's coming. Yuna doing that dance right in the beach during golden hour. That was probably one of my most favorite shots of all time. Just being able to tell that story. Another shot I got in the beach was there were two Evangelion cosplayers. I'm not sure who the characters in Evangelion are. It was the guy in Asuka. I forgot the name of the main character in Evangelion.
I know who you're talking about, but yeah.
So what I did was, I had them take off their shoes, and I put the shoes on the sand, and I start off with a shot of just their shoes, and I just pan up with both of them just walking down the beach together.
Cinematic.
Yeah, just being able to get those opportunities, those are always going to be my winning shots. that's something you can never get at a boring convention center.
It is kind of interesting, yeah, where locations can inspire you to like think creatively with the location itself. And albeit you do try your best at a convention, you know, just that little extra mileage of just either going out convention can help so much. But yeah, you're just kind of saying like sort of the perks and pluses of sort of like you know, being able to get the right shots at the right time. Was there ever a moment whenever you had a shot or a, a moment where things did not quite line up or as planned, but you were able to recover from it? So like say for example, like either I was at this one shoot and my trigger was not working, but I was able to recover by either using my speed lights to be able to use that as the trigger instead, or I don't know, just something that you were able to make lemons into lemonade, if you will.
Okay, so for that question, I actually have two different situations at two different events.
Go right ahead.
And before I even get to that part, I do have to say, if you're into doing this kind of video work, my top advice is learn how to shoot handheld before you fly out on a gimbal, because handheld does come in clutch in those kinds of situations. So here's my first story. This was at Anime Los Angeles in 2023. It was Saturday. That was the most busy day of the convention, and I found out that, oh, the joystick on my gimbal is broken. Now I'm getting drift on my gimbal. It keeps panning up. So yes, I started to freak out a little bit. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I can't get the shots anymore. So it was such a crazy moment. But as soon as I cooled down, I just started shooting everything handheld, and by going handheld, I immediately thought of stuff that I probably wouldn't be able to pull off using a gimbal. One of the benefits of going handheld is that you can position that camera any way you like. Like you're in full control of the camera rather than having the motors control the camera for you. So with that, you can get some really, really awesome looking shots. You can shoot in a variety of different ways. And more importantly, your arms are super responsive compared to how fast your gimbal's motors go. So for the rest of the Saturday, I just shot everything handheld, and I was actually pretty surprised with the results. Like I ended up getting shots that I thought I would never pull off, but it made me more into shooting handheld and understand that, look, handheld is good if you know how to use it properly. So that was probably the biggest lesson I learned at that event. So whenever something fails, don't give up. Think of a plan B and get back in shooting. As for the other situation, this was at MomoCon back in 2024, and unfortunately, we had some very, very power trippy police guys there. And there was one in particular who kept yelling at me for using my gimbal at the event. So he said I can't have my gimbal. They said it's copyright, blah 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 blah, which I think is just baloney because
it's copyright.
Yeah, they said a lot of different excuses. They were just over policing the entire situation. He was a very, very power trippy police guy. So unfortunately, yeah. So to make sure I don't get in trouble, I complied with it. So I had to put the gimbal away and shot the entire Sunday of MomoCon handheld. And just like Anime Los Angeles, I just made the most out of it. So think of things. The way I approach it is think of things that you're able to do handheld that you can't do on a gimbal, and try to make the most out of that as much as you can. And that's exactly how I just pulled it off. Just know how to deal with that situation and adapt to it, and then the rest is history. And just try your best. You never know unless you try. Unless you try. And just because one piece of your equipment goes down is not the end of the world. That's probably the one thing I learned from those kinds of situations.
So as you're talking about, like, sort of like again, just overall videography, approaching things at a convention. Is there any sort of like quick little advice for any videographers just starting out? Like, is there a certain way they should approach? Because obviously, like as we're talking about, like, you know, ways that you've been able to do work, what if it's someone who's trying to start out in videography? What are some go-tos for them to get started out on?
Okay, so the first thing that I would usually tell anyone who's trying to get into videography, just go with the camera that you currently have at the moment. Don't worry too much about your gear, because if you focus too much on the gear, that's going to be your main focus. You're going to completely ignore every other aspect of making your video. I would say use the camera that you currently have and try to make the best use of it. And once you make the best use of the current camera that you have, once you're able to upgrade it, you know exactly how to use it. So you know all the basics of camera work. You know the bells and whistles. You know what aperture, shutter speed, and ISO does. You know how to do a composition. You know some stuff about lighting. All that carries over into your new gear. So use whatever gear you currently have, and don't make these excuses that, oh, I can't go into videography because I don't have the right equipment. Yes, you do. And I always tell everyone this: your phone works just as well. Your phone is a very, very powerful tool. I mean today's iPhones, they can do 4K at 60 frames per second. Like you have these specs right in the palm of your hand, and it's just crazy that not a lot of people make the best use of it. So that'd be my advice for gear wise, and also just keep releasing content. Just keep releasing stuff. Don't always feel that you feel pressure for each video. Yes, you are going to make mistakes, but with every new video, you'll learn from your mistakes. And my personal strategy is try to think of even the smallest thing that you can do for your video, a small change. So let's say for example, for this one video, I want to try to focus on doing more Dutch angles, and see how that affects the footage. And once you see the final video, you can critique yourself and see, oh, maybe these shots look for this shot, but not so much for this other shot. Great. So when you go to your other event, you'll have the knowledge of that, and now you could try something else, and then just keep going, and eventually you'll come up with your own style. And that's how I came up with my style. I like more of just like getting a full body shot of the cosplay, then get a medium shot, and then a close up shot. And if at all possible, if I'm able to make a skit of a cosplayer's clip, then I try to go that route, knowing how I position my camera, because angles are also important when making these kind of shots. But this is not something that you're going to learn in just 24 hours. This is learning through several videos that you release on your channel. So just keep releasing stuff, have those reps, and just learn from each and every video, and eventually you'll come up with your winning formula. And that's how I got to where I am, and that's how other videographers got to where they are, because people like their style. And that's something that I feel new videographers will have to develop to make their channel as unique as they can. Yeah, I think, and also the last thing is communication. Learn how to properly communicate with your subject. And one mistake I see a lot of videographers make all the time is that they get so excited, but they talk very weirdly. They may come off as being extremely arrogant, or maybe say stuff that the cosplayer is not comfortable hearing, and whatnot. So just understanding your subject, and just be as presentable as possible. You want to make your subject as comfortable as possible, because if they're uncomfortable, then they're not going to pose very well. They're going to feel very, very nervous. But try to be that person that everyone wants to come back to. And I feel that that's already a winning formula to try to network with other people. Just being that pleasure to work with. And it doesn't matter how good your quality videos are. If you're very, very if people really, really like working with you, that's already a big advantage when it comes to opening that network that you're planning to bring for your channel.
Wow. Actually, very well said. That's actually very powerfully worded right there. I love that. I do have a little quick question as you were talking about, like, as you saying, like, the advice of the approaching of skits and ideas. I do have a question from Haley, signed photo. As how do you think for the ideas of your skits slash segments in your CMVs? Do you ask the cosplayer for the ideas, or do you just come up with them on the spot?
That's a very good question that Haley asked. I do openly admit, I'd say like 80% of the time, I don't know about the series that I'm recording.
Hmm.
So this is where communication plays a big role. You just ask the cosplayer, how does your character interact with the other character? Try to find out more about their personality. What are they like in the series? What do they do in the series? Those can easily be communicated by the cosplayer itself. And yeah, and it goes by saying, the more you communicate, the better that the cosplayer will continue to work with you. And just having that conversation, just talking about the series that they're cosplaying from, it not only do you get a lot of information, but you could also make some really, really good friends, and because you're listening to what they have to say, you're opening the floor to them, and that's just one basic thing that opens up to a really good communication, just listening.
Mm-hmm. No, that's kind of interesting right there. Yeah, because I was gonna say, because like I know for me, whenever I get someone who books me for a shoot, if it's a content I don't know, at least I have the time to be like, all right, I got a Don to Don shoot planned for ASIN. All right, I could easily watch that, get some ideas of it. And so it's like I'm able to prep it for, like, my shoot itself. But I can imagine, like, going to a convention, you either know the fandoms, or especially whatever's coming up. Do you ever try to research or try to watch whatever is going on with the current contents? Like, okay, there's the new season of Apothecary Diaries that literally came out, or this Solo Leveling, what have you. Do you try to, like, keep up with all that content, or you just kind of just vibe whatever you can?
Oh, I wish I had the time to watch all that stuff, but unfortunately, adulting and working is in the way.
No, fair. I have that.
Yes.
I have that same bit where it's like, I will only get into these subjects unless someone books me. So, hey, anyone with Apothecary Diaries, or anyone with this video game or that, please book me. That gives me the excuse to do research, as I jokingly about it.
Yeah. But if I ever have the opportunity, of course I would watch series. I know for the upcoming event Otakon next week, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a lot of K-pop Demon Hunters cosplayers.
Oh yeah.
So I'm still in the middle of watching the movie, so I just want to get a full understanding of the movie first before I start recording K-pop Demon Hunters, just to get an idea of what the type of poses are trying to go for, the culture, all that stuff.
No,
but yes, if I were to give advice to anyone who's doing these kinds of videos, it's yes, researching and watching the series does give you quite an advantage.
I will say, like, especially because I know I've done a couple of One Piece shoots where it's like I had never watched the series at all, but now that I have, it's like I got a better understanding now, so that anytime who books me with a One Piece shoot, it's like I know what this is now. I understand this now. So it is kind of like that little bit where even if you're just watching it, it's considered a long-term investment. Even like, as you mentioned, K-pop Demon Hunters, where I was like, I'm just gonna randomly watch it because I feel like I know someone's gonna book me for a shoot. But now that you got that internal knowledge, you share it, and you're more likely to have someone to book with you for it. I guess kind of continuing along with sort of like fandoms and all that stuff. I do have one person, the Shady Hayes, who asked, what's your kind of favorite cosplay characters or fandom to photograph or videograph? And I guess I kind of like had that little bit. Actually, yeah, that question there. Sorry, I do have a different question to follow up with that, but that's differently phrased.
So my favorite cosplay that I like to video,
or fandom, if you will, if you want to.
Oh, anything Final Fantasy. That's already a given, especially if it's from 6, 7, or 10. I say those are my top 3 Final Fantasy games. Every time I see a Final Fantasy cosplayer, we're going to be recording right away. Also, let's see. I do like my Marvel characters. So anyone in the Marvel series, I'm I always get attracted to those kinds of cosplayers, especially when they do these really awesome poses. Because and it's crazy because for those particular series, they each have their own signature pose, and being able to capture all that, it's just that's just icing on the cake.
Just that little topping right there. And I guess, yeah, the question, like, to follow up with that is, like, again, and I'll admit, like, I've seen more Final Fantasy fandoms outside of, like, the Midwest area. Like, I swear, every time I've gone to Katsu or something like that, I see more Final Fantasy X than I've had in the years I've been here in Chicago. What do you think is the most fandom that you see at conventions? And I guess, which one do you think that offers the most options for, especially for videography?
Okay, so I can answer this in a few different ways because each convention type is different. So when it comes to Comic Cons like C2E2, WonderCon, New York Comic Con, and all this other stuff, probably all the Marvel and DC stuff, especially Marvel now that we have Marvel Rivals out. So you probably see a big influx of Marvel cosplayers. And anything superhero theme, because Comic Cons that really brings a lot of the superhero theme in the cosplay community. But anime con is usually what the most popular fandom is at the moment. I'm not sure. Well, this is not really an anime. This is more of like a anime like game, Genshin Impact. That's always a big one. Any of the latest animes like Frieren, Apothecary Diaries. Those are other big ones I usually see a lot. Oh, lots of Kaiju number 8. I've been seeing a lot of those recently at the conventions I travel to. But other than that, typical Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia. I say those, and Dragon Ball. Those are probably the big shonens that I usually see at conventions. Yeah.
So yeah, the usual typical stuff, but yeah. But yeah, as I said, like, is there any sort of difference that you see on the cosplay scene, whether it's the East Coast, Midwest, West Coast, whether it is the fandom, the quality, the people? Because I imagine there's got to be some different characteristics to each, like, region you go to a convention, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I would say us here in the Midwest, we have developed our own culture, and the East and West Coast have their own culture as well. That's why whenever I travel out to the West, I feel like I'm in some place exotic in the convention community, even though we're still in the United States. So that's why I tend to see a lot more cosplays I would probably see less often in the Midwest, in the West Coast, and also in the East Coast as well. The one thing I noticed about the East Coast, I would say the cosplay scene is so much bigger over there compared to the Midwest. I see it when I went to Otakon for the first time. I was just amazed by the sheer amount of cosplayers that I've seen in the East Coast convention scene. As you know, Otakon is one of the largest East Coast cons in the United States. I think now it's Anime NYC today, but anyway, it was just massive. And I noticed in the East and the West Coast, I would more likely see cosplay groups from maybe the not so most well known franchises. Are you aware about the Tales of series, Eric?
No, not really. So, but I know what you mean. Like, there is like that little niche of like certain video games and such.
Yeah, yes. I feel like in the East and the West Coast, you're more likely to see cosplayers from fandoms such as Tales of they're a really good franchise, and they do have their own audience, but probably not as popular as some of the other big name brands. And those are probably the ones that really impressed me the most. Just even the most not so well known animes has their own kind of cosplay, and that's one big thing I noticed when I go to Katsucon. Because that's probably one of the only places you get to see those kinds of cosplayers. And also in the West Coast, there's this con called FanimeCon in San Jose. Words cannot describe how big the cosplay variety is compared to stuff that we have over here. Like they go hard on franchises that are not so well known, or they were well known one during a certain period of time, but not so much anymore today.
Just like embracing it and trying to keep it real, keeping it alive, if you will.
Yeah, because I remember back then, Black Butler was a huge thing back then.
Oh yeah, I haven't. Well,
but
I
now
haven't
today
even
I
seen
rarely
it,
see them. I rarely see Black Butler cosplayers.
So
that's one of my all-time favorite animes.
I'm trying to think what other ones I've seen where I was like, oh my god, like I rarely see this type of cosplay, and I always feel like I see it more. Maybe when I first started out cosplay in the Midwest, is like, oh, I saw an Iron Giant cosplay of like someone doing like the artist guy, and like either I was able to like see these details, but I don't know whether it's just me being in the Midwest, where it's like I'm used to seeing either the same cosplayers coming to conventions that I'm like, all right, I'm seeing the usual bit, but every time I go, you know, as I said before, like anywhere else, like whether it's MagFest, Holiday Matsuri, Classicon, like I get that little spurt of something a little different, that new spice, if you will, just to change it up. That I was like, I've not seen that, and I don't think I will see that in the Midwest. So kind of like that.
Yeah, and going back to YetiCon, that was my very first exposure to the Canadian convention community.
Really?
Yes, and oh my gosh, like I was just blown away by how crazy they take their craft over there.
I think there is like a cosplay retreat weekend that used to occur pre-COVID, and it was like usually hosted in the Canadian Rockies, if you will. So it was kind of just like mind blowing just to see the quality of art and work there. So continuing on, as you know, we're talking about like, you know, coverage of, you know, these conventions, you're doing this or that. What do you think is more pressure, doing a photo shoot or trying to make a cosplay music video? Like,
well, the thing about photo shoots is that the photo shoots I do are all paid photo shoots. So that's already adding extra pressure to me, because I'm here to try to fulfill what the client wants for their photos. And this requires a lot more extensive research of what they're trying to look for in a photo shoot. So one thing I do prior to my photo shoots is that I try to get an idea of the character that they're cosplaying as, and we both work together. We come up with ideas of poses that we want to try to go for. I usually ask, in my photographer forum, I would ask if they have any reference photos of that particular character, because just getting a reference photo is already an instant pose for the photo. All you have to do is find the right location and shoot at the right angles, and then away you go. And also understand what the cosplayer is trying to go for. I know one photo shoot I had. This is when I was still new to doing cosplay photography. My subject specifically wanted to get full body shots to their cosplay, full body from head to toe. And unfortunately I didn't really do that as much, and they got a little disappointed in that. So those kinds of small details that the cosplayer wants to get their entire cosplay that they work so hard on, all framed up in the photo. Just getting all those small details.
Well, I guess let me also kind of add an additional or follow-up question. So you were talking more about like, you know, there is the pressure of paid shoots. But let's just say, have you ever done like lobby photos at all? So like, you know, you taking photos of people at the lobbies. Do you think that is more pressure to like, you know, network and meet people and take their photos versus, you know, doing the whole video work there? I guess as a little follow-up.
I don't really think there isn't any difference between a hallway photo and doing a CMV shot, because they both have the same goal, just meeting people and potentially networking with them. The only difference is it's either a still or a video of them going into a pose. Yeah, I really don't think there's any difference.
Well, I feel like there might be a little more pressure with like CMVs, because like compared to me, like when I've gone to MagFest, like, all right, I'll take your photo. Maybe I might try to do something, but either way, I'm like, all right, well, I'll take your photo. Boom, we're done. I don't try to like go too crazy on the stuff. While I feel like with CMVs, you really gotta go into that extra like direction, be like, all right, I'm bringing you along, I gotta take you to the side here, let's try do this little shot there. So I feel like there might be a little bit more pressure doing like lobby stuff with CMVs than it is for photos.
Yeah, if you put it that way, then yeah, that is also true. And this goes back to communication as well. When you do video, yes, you do have to be more specific about what you want your subject to do. But you also have to keep in mind, not every single cosplayer are paid actors.
Pause for a second.
Possible.
I think we lost you there for a second. So can you repeat after what you said? Not all cosplayers are paid actors.
Yeah, so not all cosplayers are paid actors. Some cosplayers they just want to know like the simplest forms of direction. So even as much as like raising your weapon up, doing a sword swing, like going into like flexing a muscle, like even the simplest poses work very well. But the most important thing is you have to understand your subject. Maybe there are cosplayers who are very, very skilled actors, and if you communicate it properly, then you'll know how to utilize their acting skills. But I know there are some people who may not know about posing, or maybe a little too nervous to pose. The most important thing is knowing how to adapt to the particular situation. Every single person is different, and everyone has a different background. And yeah, just understand each and every individual, and know how to utilize it. I know for people who show up for the very first time in my cosplay music videos, they just do some simple poses, but afterwards when they work with me again, they know exactly what I'm looking for in a cosplay music video, and they ended up doing spectacular movements, and they got an even better video of themselves at the next con. So being able to be accessible, yes, that does put a lot of pressure, but at the same time, you could also put that to your advantage, because now you're giving them good communication, you're becoming more comfortable to work with the subject, and lo and behold, you may eventually have someone who would always want to work with you, and they want to do something even better for their next clip.
Perfect. Few more questions in regards to that. I do have this one question from hopefully I'm saying this right, Ali D. Santis. They stated saying, you're really good at telling a story through short video clips. Is that a skill you worked on developing, or is it a natural inclination that came pretty natural to you?
That was all from many years of experimenting with shots and understanding how, let's say, shooting from one angle would work, or what happens if I put a lot of movement into it. What happens if I Dutch the camera? What happens if I shoot very, very wide, and how that affects the story of the clips. It's all a matter of experimenting, and eventually, once you do enough of it, you'll find out what shots do work and what shots do not work, and then that's the whole story behind it. Just keep experimenting. Just keep making those mistakes. Keep laughing at yourself whenever you mess up, and eventually it'll just come to you.
Which I think CMVs are kind of good, because if you are just kind of like meeting up with people, hanging around, getting it, you could try a few things. God knows, like at MagFest, I was trying like that new technique of like, all right, I'm gonna have a flash, but I got my variable lens, so I'm gonna like zoom in as I take the photo, which created some good photos, but God knows I was very much experimenting of a few things there to that degree. But it is trial and error and seeing what works and doing what you can. So another thing which you are kind of well known for your CMVs is that you also love to include bloopers into your videos. God knows, like at the very end clips. And so I guess the question
is, you know what that is, right?
What?
And you know what that is, right?
Bloopers?
Yep, that's what I usually say whenever someone makes a blooper.
Oh, that's what you say. Sorry, pardon me. It's like, okay. So I guess compared to like, I got two questions for the bloopers. One is like, I know a lot of people like to try present the best of their work without any like flaws or anything like that. Why is it that you decided to include bloopers into your CMVs?
Well, other than because they're pretty funny, this is based on what the people who I work with all said. They said bloopers make it just makes the cosplayers feel more human, and it gives that message that you don't always have to be perfect, and it's okay to be funny. It's okay to make mistakes, and I just wanted to show that the cosplay community aren't always just perfect people who will always do everything, always knock it out of the park and do everything perfectly, but they're just human beings who are just out there just to have a good time, and just having that memory of just having those bloopers is just an extra layer of for me just being this guy who likes to have fun, and to show that this is not a serious environment. It's okay to make mistakes.
Oh, exactly. God knows, like I'm trying to do better. It's like I need to save the bloopers from photos I've taken and get them in that. Like I need to like just call the photos and make sure everyone gets their, or at least if I do have a blooper, maybe I just send it to the client themselves to be like, here, this is for you. Do whatever you want with it, and leave it to the ether.
And that CTV, you had quite an amazing song as Jeff the Landshark.
Oh, don't I know it? Don't I know it? But I guess to follow up with that, well, first of all, I didn't know that was a blooper. I thought I was just doing myself. But so again, what has been your favorite like blooper that whenever you think of a blooper in your CVs, what just comes to mind right in your head?
Oh my goodness, that's a very tough question.
And believe me, like I kind of thought this question during the stream was like, oh wait, I forgot about this. Let me add this. So I do love how my questions kind of evolve as the stream goes.
Okay, so let's talk about this year.
Okay.
If you watch my MagFest video, you probably know what I'm talking about at the very beginning.
I'm trying to remember, but please describe to the viewers, please.
So I was shooting characters that represent Super Smash Brothers. It was a Peach, DDD, and a Meta Knight.
So continue.
So I'm not sure. Do you want to pull up that clip?
Can you send me that clip and I can pull it up if possible?
Okay,
or do you have it somewhere? Or hold on, give me a second. Yeah, because you said it was in your.
It's in the very beginning of my MagFest video.
Oh, you're right. You're right. All right. Give me a second.
Okay.
I was like, I have links, but I didn't have this link exactly accessible. 2025.
Depth Mapper Mail is a new technology for Forest Effects Continuum. It uses AI to take your
Don't mind the ad as it loads up.
Based on an object's apparent distance from the camera. This opens up new ways of creating effects.
All right. So yeah, here we go. There we got that venti shot again.
So let's go ahead and watch it, and you'll see why that's my most memorable blooper so far this year.
Up here. Oh yeah.
Oh, are you all right? Are you all right? I can't see what's on your screen, but did that blooper already happen?
Yes. I'll play more in the blooper section here again. So I'll skip ahead to the blooper itself. But yeah. Yeah, pose
so basically what happened was I saw this Super Smash Brothers group, and the original idea was it would be Peach and DDD posing together. Then Meta Knight would just come in front and interrupt them, and both of them would get mad, and then they chase Meta Knight.
Yeah.
And, lo and behold, while chasing them, Peach actually died.
Yeah, just as you had a number of times in the bloopers part, just the repeat and then the GTA wasted effect right there.
I wish I could use the GTA wasted, but I don't want to get copyright.
No, that's fair, but I mean, everyone gets the idea there. So
Yep, and then she just falls onto the ground. And the reason why this is memorable is because the Peach was very, very cool about it.
no,
Like
exactly.
she was just, she was like, "Oh my god, I just died," and then she just got back up. And
No,
I was just freaking out because I thought she got injured and she was getting upset about me, but no, she was the complete opposite.
no, exactly.
And
Like, I mean,
then when I showed them the clip, the Peach just said, "Justin, put this in the video. Put this in the video. Put this in the video. I want this in the video." Like she wanted that blooper in the video.
oh, that's good though. Like, it is kind of fun where it's like you kind of develop like, and again, I guess that is kind of great that you've brought it forward where it's like things don't have to be perfect. How you can have, these little mistakes, because it is that little bit where it's like, cosplayers are trying to be perfect and not and such, but then it's like, God, I'm wearing all this equipment and all that stuff. I'm sweating like crazy. And it's just like so awkward that, it's like, yeah, we're all just human in all these weird costumes that are not bloody realistic to real life and all that stuff.
Yep,
So,
yep, and that's the main purpose of my blooper reel. That's the reason why I kept it. I
we're
just
kind
want
of continue for a quick.
yeah, I just wanted to show that I'm like I'm just a chill fella who likes taking videos. Like I'm not expecting you to be 100% perfect. I'm not expecting you to make an Oscar-winning shot.
No, fair. As I replay this again over and over. So yeah, as we're reaching about the 2 hour mark, do you think you're good, or do you think you need to take a quick little break?
I think a break would be good.
A break would be good. Cool. So, yeah, we'll be back in about 5 minutes or so, and we'll continue on with our lovely stream. So, everyone, don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a quick little bit.
All right.
There's still time.
Yeah, there might be. They haven't gotten to him yet.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And all right. We're back and coming up with the second half of our lovely Snap and Chat stream. So Justin, you want to talk a little bit of what you're doing right now? Because I was gonna say you haven't touched your edits. They're getting a little cold right now as I eat my dinner.
You're fun. So, you're asking some really
because I guess we kind of talked about a little bit about setup and the you know, during the photo shoots. So when you kind of like start actually so after you're done with the convention, what was your process after the convention and editing these videos?
Okay, so do you want me to start from the very, very beginning?
Sure. Just quickly paraphrase it, or clip notes, if you will.
Oh boy, I finished a recording at a convention. Now I'm home. I'm at home doing an edit. So the first thing I would usually do is take whatever I have on my SSD and just back it up immediately. So what I have is I have a 14 terabyte hard drive, and I just copy all that stuff into the hard drive immediately.
We lost you. Sorry, we lost you a second at copying at the hard drive immediately.
I would usually get scared of my data getting corrupt, so I immediately just drop it all into a hard drive. So after doing that, I would organize my folders. So you can see my screen here, right?
Yes, I can see. Actually, I might. I'll
pull it
up to full screen for you.
So let me show you this. This is my 4 terabyte hard drive, and this is where I store all my editing files from the last conventions I went to.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say ASIN, for example. I would have a dedicated folder for each convention. So this is the ASIN folder. From here, this is where I put all my stuff. So here are all my clips from Friday, my clips from Saturday. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. And then my clips from Sunday. They're all in dedicated folders. And one habit I do every single day before I go to bed is I copy every single. I just drop every single video clip that I shot into my drive, so I don't have to do everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
So they would all go here. And here's all the audio. Here's the audio I plan on using or was using for the cosplay music video. So actually, once I get this is.
Speaking of audio, we did have a question from Haley, which I guess that kind of makes it that a little bit. She asks, do you pick the music before or after making the video? And does that influence your decision in what you record at all?
Yes, I do pick the music before I record. And one advantage of picking the music is you get to understand how the music flows. So let's say you had a song that had really, really high BPM. Then I would probably go for clips that matches the high BPM. So I would probably do a lot of like fast moving clips or clips that don't utilize slow motion as much. And if you go the other way around, if I were to go for like a more relaxing clip, then I could actually just slow my camera down and go and take all my and record all my shots in that particular format. So yes, no, understanding the song that you're about to use also determines how you're going to do your clips. And if you know how to do your clips, that's called shooting to edit.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're already one step ahead and know exactly how you want to do your edit. So once again, it's called shooting to edit. So just think of the edit in mind before you even before you even hit record. And that already gives you quite an advantage, and you have a much better chance of turning your video around faster if you know exactly how you want to edit the entire video. In fact, one example of this is Holiday Matsuri last year. I knew right away that this is going to be 100% holiday theme song, and I understand the tempo of each of the BPM of each of the songs. So when I went and recorded cosplayers, I just matched that particular style that I was trying to go for. And because of that, because I knew how to edit that video and know the 3 songs I'm using by heart, I was able to get that video out in just 3 days. So I was able to get it out on Christmas Day.
No, perfect. Yeah, just to be able to get that timing and all that stuff there.
Yeah, that was a very fun, quick edit. But I'd say that was my fastest turnaround. That holiday Matsuri video last year.
Yeah, no, God knows, like, especially out there, just so close to the holiday deadline, and I'm sure everyone wants to know what's going on and such.
Okay, so back to the process. So
Yes,
I create
back
this
to the
folder.
process.
So we got that. So let's go back to Premiere.
Mhm.
So what I would do is I would create a new Premiere project.
Mhm.
So that's this right here.
Mhm.
So this may not be a very good example, but this project was made specifically just for KitsuneCon. But since I did 3 cons in a row, I decided to just put all 3 cons in the same project.
Oh yeah.
So if I felt a little tired working on the KitsuneCon video, I can just go to DokuCon and edit that video a little bit, or maybe even go to Anime Iowa.
So is it kind of like with Premiere? Because yeah, you're using Premiere, correct?
Yes, this is Premiere.
So like you kind of got the projects in that same folder, so you're able to exit out, because it's like compared to, like, you know, Lightroom catalogs where it's like, all right, whatever you put in there, everything is in there. But at least Premiere, it's like you just have that categorized in there, or I don't know. Can you describe?
Yes.
Those? Because
again,
this is a bit of a more of a photo podcast. So can you explain a little bit more about Premiere to those who are not at Premiere?
So the way I do it, and also a little disclaimer: other videographers may do things a little differently. So don't think of this as the definitive way of doing it. This is how I personally do it. But the way I do it is I use more than one screen for editing. So as you can see, I'm moving this to my other screen right here. So this is a view of what my second screen would look like. So going back to the project part, what I would do is I would create a project. So this would be this project is called KitsuneCon, but in reality this is for 3 different conventions. And what I would do is when I go to this project window, this is where all my files are. So do you see these folders here?
Mm-hmm.
These are called bins. And by having bins, this is how you can easily organize all your content, your clips, your music, audio tracks, etc. So in this case, this is originally for KitsuneCon. So I have a bin where it's exclusively just footage.
From
just footage of the event.
Okay.
What was it?
The bin is footage from KitsuneCon, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes, but right now I'm almost done with this video, so that's why you see less clips here. This is what I personally do to keep myself organized. I actually have a bin called in video. So basically, the in video folder are clips that I already utilized for the video. So usually when I put a segment into my video, I would take every single one of their clips and drop them into this in video folder. So that way, when I review my footage, I'm not looking at a huge blob of footage.
Mm-hmm.
I only see the ones that I haven't used yet.
Okay. So it's kind of
like,
like,
makes any sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So it's like, all right, here's all the video footage. Every time you throw it in, all right, I'm moving it to another folder, aka the used or the. So
I call it in video.
Yeah, in video, as you stated. So that's kind of like one way to be like, all right, do I use this clip? Did I not use this clip? It's like one way to know. It's like, all right, it's not in here, so I probably did use it.
Yep. That way I can get it becomes much easier to know which clips I haven't used yet. Because I know one struggle I had was determining if I utilize this clip or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is far, like back then my editing my workflow would be much more messy than this. But with this method now it becomes a lot more cleaner. now I can find out which clips I haven't used yet and which clips are in use. So it gives me an understanding of, okay, I have this much left over. I know this year I had situations where I had so many access clip that it was enough for a full song in the video, and that's exactly how I approached it at Katsucon and beyond.
Oh yeah.
And because of this method, I was able to pretty much use nearly all the clips I recorded.
So you
So this
basically
is the way I would. Yeah, go ahead.
So you basically you plan initially, but you kind of plan in case you might have extra. Is that correct?
Correct. And that's something that I personally have been doing because I know there's been a lot of instances where I didn't use a cosplayer's clip. They get really sad that they're not in the video. So this is my way to rectify an issue where people don't make the cut because I didn't have enough space.
So, no, that's a good way. You learn, adapt, and try to be fair to everyone, which God knows, I think that's definitely what's needed in the community. Greatly.
Yep, and this is just my particular way.
So cool
Okay.
on that. So yeah,
so here's the actual workflow. So this is exclusive to this particular stream. Here's your first look at the KitsuneCon video. Here's what I have so far. Is anyone in the chat still with me at this moment? Want to see the first few shots of the KitsuneCon video?
I think they are.
Okay, you're not gonna hear any audio because of copyright. I don't want Eric to get in trouble for copyright.
And I thank you for that. Otherwise, if you want to see the full video, go to our guest's Instagram with this handle right here, Justin Pineda at YouTube. For the premiere.
Yep, this is the beginning of the KitsuneCon video. Okay, I'm not sure if that's laggy on your end, chat.
It's more laggy on my end because how I am trying to receive the video footage itself. But don't worry about the lag itself. It's just the video processing trying to come to my end. So, but
so for this video, I wanted to cover more than just cosplay, so that's why I covered other events as well.
Mm-hmm. Which I was gonna say, you've been doing that a lot more with your recent CMVs in last year too, correct?
Yes. When I get accepted as press, I want to try to fulfill what the convention probably wanted me to do, which is cover non-cosplay aspects of the event. And that's exactly what I did here at KitsuneCon.
And even if you weren't, so you said that you would do that if you were covered as press, but even if you weren't press, would you still try to do that same method, or will you just focus on, cosplay?
It's a little harder. It's a little harder just because I don't have the press privileges. Because when you have press, you have the ability to go to things I normally wouldn't be able to do. Like you wouldn't be able to seat yourself at a panel early, or shoot at certain areas of a panel.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can't just walk into a panel and just grab a few shots and be done with it. Like some of these privileges require a press pass.
Fair. That you just get that little access of being like, I could go here, I could go there. I don't have to be here the entire time. So yeah, like I can imagine.
One cool thing about KitsuneCon, they had wrestling,
which that's been growing a lot lately. I swear to God, like especially in the Wisconsin.
These guys are from Chicago, actually. They're called Proving Grounds.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you don't see that many cosplay. Was there a cosplay wrestling in ASIN, or has that been mostly Wisconsin? Because I know there was one in, I want to say Amkey, and then I think ClassCon North was there. Correct me if I'm wrong.
But yeah. Okay, you probably know these people.
A few of them, yeah. There are definitely some cosplayers I always recognize in your videos to be like, I know them. And then when you go out of the Midwest, I'm like, I don't know them. I might know that person, or I follow that person, but I don't particularly know them personally.
And whenever I travel to cons, I always pass along the people who I met to all my peeps at home.
Yeah, thank you for that. Always a little bits of networking here and there. So
yeah, for example, in the beginning of the video, there was that Monty Gator, and you got some really awesome shots of Game Dweeber at ColossalCon North.
yeah, and I thank you for recommending them to me. And hopefully I can make it to the upcoming ClassCon North. So yeah, so you're kind of talking about like the process that you do and how you decide clips, and especially a way to stay organized for those clips. When you're editing, do you have any, are you just kind of, especially because I imagine video editing is definitely a lot different than photo editing, where it's like, all right, I got my image still here, I'm editing this for half an hour. Sometimes I might have music on the background, or I might have a movie or a TV show on the background. Is that same concept apply for video, or are you just so honed in on the video that you can't have too much distractions or noises?
I would answer that as everyone is different.
Mhm.
Some people may find it more beneficial to have like a lo-fi song in the background, while others are trying to just get into the beat of the song for the music video. In this case, I want to make sure, based on the way I format my videos, I try to keep I try to stay in the rhythm of the music I'm using, just so I can pinpoint when to use certain parts of the video, what the timing of each part of the video.
I feel like for me, I would like, if I were in your shoes, I would probably like, let me get the clips in first and then fine tune it later. So at least like I would like try to like get some layout, then I would like get deep in on it. But again, to each their own, to each their own.
Yeah, like I said in my disclaimer, everyone does things differently. So my method may not suit well for other people. This is just specifically just for me. But everyone has their own way of expressing themselves. So whatever gives you an advantage, just do it.
And kind of like in along the lines of like, all right, you got, you know, something to keep you occupied during the editing. Is there any sort of like little snack that you might nibble on? Like sometimes, like I know I might bring popcorn to me as I edit or what have you, as you're video editing. Do you kind of like just nibble on anything at all?
Normally I would just I would probably have my because my TV is like right next to me right here. I would probably just maybe like turn on my Switch and play a few games just to relax the mind. Because I say the worst thing that can happen during an edit is that you overthink so much.
Oh.
So just being able to just cool yourself down and just think straight and calmly. I would say maybe playing a few games would help me think a lot more straight. And sometimes overthinking could actually affect your editing because let's say you're in this situation, you put something in the video where you think doesn't look that great, but then you take a little break and you come back and you're like, oh, this is the greatest thing of all time. Maybe I'm just overthinking.
I mean, that is a good way to decompress in between photo edits, but I guess I didn't quite phrase the question as I thought I would. I meant any snacks like food or things you might have during the photo editing or video editing.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
I mean, no, that is still a good important thing of like, in case like you get a little bit like when you like feel like, all right, I've reached my max of like editing for the night. All right, now I'm going to just play some video games or do whatever, or just take a little moment. God knows I might get distracted where I'm like, all right, I'll photo edit a little bit. Then I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch this episode of One Piece, or I'm getting intrigued on this. But sorry, it was more on me who I didn't quite phrase the question quite as I thought I did. So, but that's what I meant by that.
Okay.
Sorry, that
might be
question...
a little tough because I don't really snack as much when I do an edit. But maybe I have recently because I just bought like a big box of granola bars from Costco. Sometimes I would just grab a random granola bar and then just nibble on that between the edit.
Nah, fair. So, as I said, we each have our own like little things to keep us occupied, because God knows us photographers / videographers, we're always like not only there at the moment, but then we're after the moment, however long it takes us to process the work itself. so kind of continuing along with convention stuff, I do have a question from Derpy Love Cosplay, who asks, because again, you've attended conventions for, was it 10 years now? Correct?
Yep, this is 10 years.
So you've attended conventions not only just for making CMVs, but just being a guest overall. And one of the things that you do a lot is visit a number of guests who attend conventions. And they ask, what's your most memorable interaction / meeting with a guest or voice actor at a convention? Because yeah, you do get a lot of signatures. And I see you like always like sharing, be like, I got this voice actor signature from this video game. And so kind of was like, I've had my interactions with a few myself.
Okay. So, are you familiar with Galacta from Marvel Rivals?
Yes, they're basically the announcer in the game. But aren't they also voiced by, they're voiced by the person from Persona 5, right? That cat person?
Morgana,
that's it.
Okay, so I actually met her way before Marvel Rivals and Persona 5. And this is when do you remember, before Twitch, do you remember a website called Justin.tv?
Justin.tv?
Justin.tv. That was streaming in its infancy before Twitch came along.
No, I honestly do not recall that. That
anyway,
was under the radar for me.
Well, anyway, back then, Galacta's voice actress, who is Cassandra Lee Morris, would do a bunch of these streams, and this was like back in 2012.
Okay.
And that was the very first time I've interacted with an anime voice actor. Fast forward all the way up to 2016, I got to meet her at Colossal Con, and I told her that I've been a fan of her work since 2012, when I first heard her in a Tales of game that came out on PS3. But the thing that really knocked out of the park was when I met her at a convention called Shudokan in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
She saw that I had a camera, and she was actually excited. She wanted me to show her the work that the video that I was working on.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and that was just incredibly cool. It's just so surreal that she's actually interested in seeing some of the video work I did. So anytime just seeing Cassandra, it's always an exciting moment. Oh, and then fast forward to 2022, when I met her at SakuraCon in Seattle, Washington. She was like, "Justin, put me in your video. Justin, put me in your video."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so I ended up just getting a quick shot of her showing one of her prints. This was in the beginning of my SakuraCon 2022 video.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, and since then, like anytime I see Cassandra at a convention, it's always very, very exciting. Yeah, she's definitely one of my highest tier voice actors. I'm always excited to meet at a convention. Yeah, I know today I don't really meet a lot of voice actors as much. Only the ones who mean the most to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I said, like I've been to cosplay conventions a number of times. It was only until like 2022 where I started meeting voice actors, which was like, Steve Bloom and Troy Baker, because it's like, all right, I enjoy you guys and I want to get your autographs, especially because I work in the industry. So it's like, it feels awkward going to these conventions, trying to like meet with someone who might be at one of my studios or something like that. But no, it is kind of funny to hear the stories of like people like you, where it's like, you can't find these celebrities with that little personal interaction where they do remember you. So like how you're saying like, oh, Justin, video me, or like I know Derpy visits Robbie Damon a number of times, and how,
oh boy,
exactly,
her obsession with Robbie Damon is just insane.
But just still that little bit where it's like I believe Robbie like just remembers them so much, and every time like there's just that genuine feeling, and you gotta love like guests at conventions who are just there for the fun of it as well, while those are like, all right, here's another thing, here we go. So you gotta love those little moments there. So going on to like random transition to your food reviews, because I was like, oh yeah, we haven't talked about that yet.
This is gonna be very delicious conversation.
A delicious, exactly. So I guess the other thing is like I don't know how to approach this or the questions I have, but I guess I'll start with the first one that Haley asks is, what's your favorite food review that you've done the whole time?
Okay, so this is gonna be a very funny food review I did.
Mm-hmm.
So this was actually my favorite food review is actually when I did my trip to WonderCon.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I went to WonderCon, I was with Kevin, the director. We were getting some pho together. We found this really cool pho place, and across the street from this pho place, there was this Italian ice place.
Oh, nice.
That was yes. So, and we saw a whole bunch of people just lining up to get Italian ice, and I was just very curious, like, why are there so many people here? Is it really that good of an Italian ice place? So fast forward two years later, when I go to WonderCon again this year, I actually got a chance to try out that Italian ice place, and after taking one taste of their Italian ice, I had the natural watermelon flavored one. I was like, okay, this is why people are lining up. This thing is so effing delicious.
No, the Italian ice that is definitely a wonder. Even there's this one place nearby me, I believe Mario's Italian Ice in Little Village, that has been there for years, and I've never gone there in the amount of time I've lived here. And it was only like this last couple months I went there. I was like, oh my god, this is delicious for some bloody reason.
Okay, so the reason why this is my favorite food review is that this is not just like the artificial stuff, the real deal. They actually use real watermelon for this Italian ice. And the best part about this Italian ice is that in on the bottom and in the middle of the Italian ice, you get vanilla ice cream.
Ooh, vanilla ice cream on the bottom? Hold on, we lost you there for
on the
a second.
bottom and in the middle of the Italian ice.
I'll repeat that in a second. We lost you at the first half.
They put vanilla ice cream, a layer of vanilla ice cream on the bottom and on the middle of the Italian ice.
Interesting. I just always kind of considered it like, shaved ice or something like that you see in like Hawaii or Japan or something like that. But just something about its texture, something that's different. But okay, ice cream is definitely never considered that little aspect.
Yeah, so it's actually an added topping. You have the option to do that, or you can just have it plain. But if you decide to go to WonderCon and you go to that Italian place, add the ice cream. It's totally worth it.
I can imagine.
That ice cream alone makes it a 10 out of 10.
Okay, so that's interesting. With in a meal or something like that, but it's like, just the simple bit. Yeah, it's just like, it is always interesting. The simplest things are always the most tasty or memorable of it all. What has been your worst? I guess how Haley's asking your favorite food review. What has been the worst thing you've reviewed yourself?
Okay, I know some people may disagree with this, but I say my worst food review is probably Guzman y Gomez, that New Mexican place that came into Chicago.
Wait, what place?
Guzman y Gomez.
Guzman y Gomez. I don't think I've heard of that actually. But continue.
It's pretty much just a more expensive Chipotle, and they don't give you a lot of food. Like I ordered a burrito at that place, and I paid. It was a burrito combo, and I paid almost $19 for it.
Jesus,
that burrito was so tiny, it would be like this size.
You're right.
It would be the size of that, and after tasting it, it just, yes, it was a little bit more fresh than Chipotle, but not by much.
Yeah, I'm kind of just like
Ooh,
looking
and I
at their.
just had Chipotle today.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at their menu now. I'm just like trying to see if I could just do a quick order and on this stuff. Well, it says the base is like $8, or you say you had the combo meal, right?
Yeah, which costs around $19.
Huh. Yeah, because it's like $8 in theory for just the burrito, but then when you add like the meal itself, then whatever add-ons. I don't know. Either way,
and then they gave away free churros, but even the churros
are not worth
it.
I
felt like I was eating rocks.
Eating rocks. Oh, so yeah, they might have been just hanging around there for a while. Oof.
Yeah, that was probably one of my worst experiences of all time. And
Really?
probably the most disappointing restaurant of 2025.
Damn. Oh, just this year. Dang. I know. Yeah, I'm fortunate enough where I live in Pilsen, where I get some good Mexican food just on the regular here and there. So it's like I don't have to worry about that. Heck, even we used to go to Chipotle, but now we've just been geared towards Naf Naf Grill, which I know it's not. That's more Middle Eastern food, but it's like the options of variety and the flavors are so much better than Chipotle itself. But
I'm more of a Pita Inn fan.
I've heard, yeah, and it was funny enough. I remember that one stream you popped in where it's like, I just had pita in. It's very delicious. My girlfriend Nicole, she had one of her clients. You know, they were like, "Oh, we just ordered you pita in." I was like, "Oh, yeah, it's very good, very nice." But I think we're just
yeah. What you want is the business special. It's their lunch special. They give you a lot of food for $11.
Ooh, I can imagine. I'm also spoiled with Aloha Wagon that's near us, which is like a Hawaiian place. For even like $11, you get like whatever choice of meat, whether it's a katsu plate or a loco moco or a kalua pork. And then you get like a side of like rice, a little salad, as well as a potato salad. And I was like, oh God, what they charge for just the amount is just so good. It's always fun to find little places like that. Is there any sort of cuisine that you lean towards more, whether it might be Asian, Mexican, European, like especially when you do these reviews? Because is it just like, do you just pick it and you do it, or is it just something?
Yeah, I just pick a random place. If it's interesting, then I just go for it. One thing some people may not know about me is that I actually have seafood allergies.
Oh.
So that's why you don't see a lot of seafood in my food reviews.
Okay.
I especially shrimp. Because when I swallow it, it makes my throat itchy.
Okay. Fortunately, I wasn't even a seafood fan until I started dating a girl from Massachusetts. So then I suddenly became a seafood fan. In fact, we had cod for dinner. But no, I've been converted. But anyway, so yeah. So what's been the one sort of like cuisine that you just lean towards the most? Because I know, especially for Nicole, she definitely loves a lot of Korean food herself.
I mean, I like Chinese food. I like Mediterranean food. I love Mexican food. Some Filipino foods. I only like just certain Filipino foods. Even though I'm Filipino myself, I don't know. It's like some are really good, but others I tend to not really like that much because a lot of the Filipino foods are seafood dishes.
Fair. Yeah, I remember there was like someone who did bring a Filipino dish at the Cosplay beach events, and I was like, I want to try, because I've been wanting to try getting into Filipino food, and God knows, like, yeah, Jollibees, because that's Filipino technically, correct?
Yes.
So it's like I've been wanting to try like into the Filipino cuisines, but it is kind of like just such a niche where it's like you can't really go too many places to get it, and even to try for me to make it, it's like, all right, I don't know if that's the authentic thing or not. So, but I'll try.
I'll openly admit I'm a Popeyes fan over Jollibee.
Oh, you're a Popeyes fan over Jollibee? Goodness.
I actually don't really like their chicken joy that much.
Jollibee,
to be honest.
I don't know. I just watched a lot of Joshua Weissman videos, and he like praises like Jollibees over Popeyes or so many other places. But again, that could just be me in what I've watched. So, but again, I've also never tried Jollibees, so I don't have any sort of assessment into this.
But yeah, the thing I don't really like about Jollibee is that I just don't think the quality is as good as Popeyes. Okay. Even though, yes, I do have to give them credit that their chicken is easy to rip out. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like you can just take the chicken and then you have just the bone left.
Yeah, finger linking meat right off the bone, kind of stuff like that.
But I say the biggest thing I love about Jollibee is their gravy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. I think I've heard
Jollibee knows how to make gravy. That's like one of my favorite things about Jollibee. sometimes when I order Jollibee and get their fries, I would always order a side order of gravy.
Mm-hmm. So, kind of switching gears over to back to sort of like my open questions now. So usually what I always ask photographers, especially if they have a particular niche, is there any subject or genre that you've never done but you've always wanted to try to get into? And I don't know whether that could be applicable to CMV, like in terms of videography kind of work, or whether that there's just something that you've always wanted to try to do that you haven't quite done yet.
I would have to say street photography, because I know I've always done photography where there's always a subject, but never did a lot of like landscape type photography. So just getting some random shots of just like a busy street. I know I've always wanted to do it, but I'm always like attracted to like the typical cosplay photography.
I don't know. It's that bit where it's like oh, sorry, continue.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, you.
Just being able to just walk casually on the street and just take random shots. Like I just never find that opportunity to do so. Or just take my camera and then just go around Chicago and just find something interesting because it's a public area.
Not fair. I always feel like I do want to try to do that more myself, but either I always feel like I can only do that if I was working downtown and not driving a car or something like that. I feel like, especially for me, where it's like I just drive right to work and then I want to get home. So I feel like if you are like, you know, a transit, or if you take a lot of like local transit stuff, like whether the bus or train, I think that can leave you to more options to that bits there. But I know, I think the only time I've tried doing any like street photography is whenever I travel and I am actually walking about, but it is that little bit mindset where it's like, do I carry with me? Do I not? So it is like a little bit of a mental thing and trying to figure out when is the appropriate time to bring it. But no, that's kind of interesting. I never thought of you being a street photographer or I guess, well, because I guess I was phrasing it as a videographer part. Is that more the photography part you wanted to try to get into, or was it?
Yeah, more for the photography stuff. But I do have an answer for videography.
Okay.
And I do want to show you something.
Oh yeah.
Okay, here's another thing I really wanted to get into, but I just never had the time to do it.
Oh, I think I have an idea. You have an idea what it might be? Feely's bringing a certain tool out.
Look what I have still sealed in the box.
Oh, I think I know. A drone?
A drone.
Yep,
it's still
that's
sealed. Yeah, I really want to try to get into more drone videography, but of course, I just didn't have the time to do it. Like, I really want to just unbox this thing and then just take it outside. Maybe even try to go for a drone license. I even still have the SD card that came with it.
Oh, dang. When did you get it?
Like a few years ago.
Okay, so it's not too, yeah, God knows. Because I've tried drone photography or videography, and albeit it was like very casual, but then suddenly like I just had like my quick moment of like I just got overly ambitious, and then of course it crashed, and then I was just scarred, and I was like, I will never take flight, if you will. But no, that's
was Raptor there.
Yeah, no, yeah, still, but I don't know, if you do find yourself time, never try it out, try new aspects, because even though like I got scarred from that experience, at least I learned and got to like focus myself onto new things. But especially as a videographer as yourself, I feel like that leans more towards your area of expertise, while, you know, the only thing I could think of if I was doing any drone stuff was maybe if I was getting into retail, maybe that's the closest thing I would do, because I've done only a little bit of retail photography work.
All right then.
So if money was no issue, what would be your ideal I do have this as your ideal studio, or something that I would love to have in your photo bag? Like,
if money wasn't an issue, what would be ideal for my photo bag?
Yeah.
I would say an all-in-one camera that excels on both photography and video.
Oh yeah.
Because for some of you who may not, some of you who may not know, this camera, while this is my main video camera, the problem with this camera, it's 12 megapixels, and for photography, it's decent, but you're not going to get high res photos out of this camera. So I have a dedicated photo camera where that's specifically what I bought the camera for. But ideally, I just don't like bringing more than one body to a convention or any event. I just want to have a camera that meets all my needs, takes beautiful photo and video, and overall just makes my life easier to get whatever I need to capture. Because it's cool to have all this amazing gear, but gear does have pros and cons. But for me, I care more about what's the most convenient for me and how I'm able to execute each piece of gear in the best way possible. All at the same time, I don't break my back. I don't walk like a tortoise, or anything that could potentially slow me down in an event or a shoot. Basically, I'm looking for more like reliability than getting like the most top of the line camera.
Yeah, just the most versatile kind of equipment.
Yeah, no, it would be nice to have a film crew where I have a dedicated person who does all the lighting. That would just be a dream. It's not just limited to just gear, but also the film crew who can help you get the shots you want. Who could handle holding onto gear or any other important piece, like for example reflector. I know when I was
a handler for the videographer or photographer, if you will.
Yes, a handler.
You were gonna say
actually Games Weaver Cosplay, the person who cosplayed as Monty Gator at Glasgow North. She did a whole panel on the importance of having a handler and why handlers are super vital, especially if you're carrying a lot of stuff or if you have a really gigantic cosplay that's very high maintenance.
I know, like when I was early into like my cosplay photography career, when someone like mentioned like, oh, I have my mom here as a handler. It's like a handler. I was like, I didn't quite understand the term itself, but now after years of practicing it, it's like, oh, now I understand the main reasons for handlers or just the importance of a handler. So yeah, I agree. It's a thankless job in photography, cosplay, if you will, that not many people think about. So I agree to that. So yeah, you aren't a full-time videographer, but if you had the opportunity, would you want to have this to be a full-time gig, or you kind of just fine just keeping it as a side hobby?
So the way I look at it is I think of three things. The first thing is have something that makes me money, which is my career in IT. Have something that keeps me healthy, like exercise or anything fitness related. But the third thing is have that creative side, which is my hobby, which is photography and videography, but also other things like doing all these food reviews or playing video games or doing something that keeps me inspired or just keeps the mind the mind like the creative mindset. Something that can inspire some ideas for future shoots or anything that I would like to try out for any future video.
Oh, fair. So no, I kind of agree with that aspect where it's like that's always been a question pondering in my mind. Is like I could be a full-time photographer. Like there's always that like instinct for it's like I'm getting a little tired with my work. I'm like, I could pull the trigger, but at the same time, I was like, I know this job is stability for me with, just a 401k, insurance and all that stuff. And again, I feel like,
yeah,
as even though it sometimes might deter for me from, being able to do work and all that stuff, at least it helps center me and at least keeps me, stable in this. And at the same time, like I always see so many photographers themselves, they try to go full time and then they suddenly lose the passion of it all. And I was like, yeah, I kind of like keeping that creative flow or just passion, if you will, not to feel that burnout.
Yeah, yeah. Once that fun becomes burnout, then it just ruins the entire passion.
Exactly.
Now it just becomes more of like it's some like a commitment than it is something that you enjoy doing because you love to do what you do.
Exactly. So let's see. So next question that we have here. So I guess especially with this day and age, where back in the day where, before social media, we didn't really have a scale of how people can call themselves a successful photographer or videographer. But what do you think is the measure of a good successful photographer slash videographer?
Okay, so I think I answered this question a little bit earlier into the stream, so I'll go ahead and elaborate a little bit more on that. I say a successful photographer or videographer is someone who just wants to continuously learn as they go. It's someone who's very, very passionate in understanding the craft, what they love, what they do. Um, they they do it because they absolutely are. They absolutely enjoy what they do. And it's not. It's just removing that void of doing this because it's giving them attention. I believe that's probably the worst way, the worst thing one can do when they try to get into this into this hobby or career. And also from a people's perspective, being someone who is able to not only give good direction but also listen as well, being able to understand who they're working with, such as understanding their background, understanding their abilities, what they can and cannot do, and also being friendly to the people. Like I feel kindness goes a very, very long way, and I know that's very, very cliche to say, but it's very, very true in the photography and videography industry. If you're not a nice person and you're not and if you're very hard to work with, then you're not going to land gigs. So just being a good person and having that character matters. And like I said, it doesn't matter how skilled or how skilled a creator you are. If you have that kind of kindness and people are extremely comfortable working with you, that's already a big win. And it does and this is without even talking about the quality of your work. And also, but the most important thing, and I know a lot of people told me about this, just be yourself. Just do you. And don't compare yourself to other people. Compare to who you were yesterday. So I know this has been a struggle for me when I was doing videography, because you see all these other amazing creators and I always wish that I can be in their shoes and get that kind of success. But the more I do that, the more it just makes me intimidated. The more I think of all these negative thoughts, and it just drifts me away from the fun of doing this kind of videography. So my key things: be a good listener, be a pleasure to work with, be yourself, and learn as you go. And avoid being arrogant. You don't want to be this person who thinks who knows everything. And this is just life in general, because I know when people do job interviews, they do the person who's hiring, they do not like arrogant people. They do not like self-absorbed people or people who are very full of themselves. They will automatically consider those people as red flags. That's also true here as a photographer and videographer. Don't be that self-absorbed person or that person who thinks they know everything.
No, agreed there. It is that little bit where sometimes we do get that bit of imposter syndrome where we see other people's work. and we were just like, how do we compare ourselves to either some of the other great ones? But then it's that same bear was like, you know what? I'm just in my own ballpark. I do what I do, and that's just how I vibe. And you could either take inspiration from those great works, notes from them, but again, your work is your work, and that's how you measure it yourselves. And it is kind of like that same bit as you mentioned there, where especially like you as what my grandpa always told me, it's like, as long as you do a good job, people will recognize that. And those have been words that have just stuck in my head a lot more. You could try to do whatever you can, but as long as you just do the work you can to the best of your ability, people will recognize it. And those who recognize it, just embrace those like little bits there. So that's a good little note that you said there.
Yeah, I say this is probably a trait that a lot of beginner photographers and videographers make. They get this really cool camera, and
I've had that same mindset as well, where it's like when I start taking cosplay photography, I was like, oh my god, this is so cool, this is so new. And even though like cut to years later, I was like, oh, there's so many people who've done this longer than I have. But I did have that, like, for lack of a better word, that arrogant mindset to myself, where I was like, I am not the best. And I think whenever you do get that reality check, I think that puts you in place. Not to say that it demeans you, but just more that it tells you that there are people who are great. You just got to figure out how, or was it, I always like to phrase it like this, in Pokemon, it's like, I want to be the very best. I phrase it as, I want to be my very best. And that's how I kind of go about it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just a good mindset there.
Yeah, and think about it and also think about this situation. Would a let's say you were a cosplayer looking for a photographer, would you go with the loud, arrogant person who does really, really amazing work but is kind of a pain to work with and he's not a very nice person? Or would you go with someone who gets really, really amazing praise from everybody? He's very, very kind, even though his work may not be on the same level as the arrogant person, but people have been praising this person for being being a pleasure to work with and being comfortable to be around.
Yeah, and I think that is important, because even then, it's like, for like even the shoot I'm editing, it's like, I try to make it casual, be like, oh, let's talk a little bit about like, how's your day going? Oh, that's kind of fun that you got to meet this actor today. Or I feel like it is like, there is a lot of nuances in photography that is just beyond just taking the photos itself. It is just giving people the experience, having the fun moment. They're here in this cosplay. You want to take not only just amazing photos, but just make sure that they're having a good time. And that is definitely very key to that degree. So there's just so much that goes on, especially in cosplay photography itself.
Yeah.
Is there any other quotes? Because again, I was like talking about a few quotes, like how I talked about like my grandpa saying, like, as long as you do good work, people will recognize it. Is there any quotes that stick with you in your mindset as you do your,
I'm not really that big on quotes. Even though I shared a handful of them, but it's just hard for me to remember anything that sticks to me.
Anything that, or paraphrase at all? I don't know. No, if not, that's all right.
I can't really think of anything right now.
I know that it is a question that's thought on the spot, but as I said, I was like, oh, that's one of my open-ended questions that I thought. Again, I always had a little improvisation a little bit there. So what has been, as I again continue with that, so I guess another thing, do you prefer, because actually no, you have talked about a little bit how it is always fun to do locations over conventions. Sorry, as I said, most of my questions are more photography related. It's like, okay, I'm trying to whittle my way through these. I would say, what about like doing all these CMVs and making all these CMVs, recording, making videos? Because we talk about your process and doing it all. What do you enjoy the most?
Just seeing it come together. Like once I once I utilize a really awesome clips I made, and then just seeing it in action, I'm just completely mind blown. And then the more I see those amazing clips in my edit, that's probably one of my ways to stay motivated. Just seeing the cosplayer do their best and knocking it out of the park. It just feels very, very motivating and inspiring. It's like I'm just like, okay, this video is gonna be amazing. I can't wait to present this to on YouTube and to everyone on Instagram. Like, for example, that Venti shot at MagFest. I was trying to hold my excitement as we got closer to releasing the video. Oh, believe me, when I released that video, everyone was talking about the shot.
Hey, Justin, have you checked your water yet? Have you checked your water?
What? Check my water? Yeah, it's like I have a third left.
I have a third left? All right, good. Because we just had a little hydration check. So I'm just saying. So cool. Yeah, no, that just that little inspiration there. So I think you might have mentioned this a little bit earlier, but about certain like videographers, there's sort of tactics that they kind of do or things like that. Is there something about videographers that you see in their CMVs that you wish for them to stop doing at all? Like a certain, like, whether just cliche kind of trick or what have you?
Stop using your gimbal in random directions. Have meaning for your camera movements. I feel one big mistake that I see people with gimbals is that they're just so excited about the technology, but they don't know how to fully utilize that technology. And that can also be true for lenses as well. I know when someone buys a prime lens, it's probably like an f1.8 or an f1.4, maybe even an f1.2 lens. But they get so excited about the shallow depth of field that your lens produces, but doesn't understand when to use it and when not to use it. And you probably know and you probably know about the whole aperture thing. The lower your aperture, the shallower your depth of field is, and everything else is blurred out in the background. But from a video aspect, sometimes that may not always work in your favor. For example, if I were to shoot a couple who was who had a very in-depth cosplay, let's say they were wearing armor with a weapon, it wouldn't be ideal to shoot at a very low aperture, because what's going to happen is that you're going to get the subject's face in focus, but their armor and depth will be completely blurred out because you shot at a very shallow depth of field. And that's also and going back to the whole gimbal thing, I've seen people just fly gimbal. They just like move the gimbal forward and then just move up, but it just didn't have a meaning at all. Like what's your reason for moving your gimbal to the right or moving your gimbal to the left or moving it in like in a very weird pattern?
I think
I always see gimbals as a way just to stabilize your footage, but when people get so obsessed with the technology and don't know how to use it, that does kind of kill the immersion from the video.
No,
it makes the video look a little bit more robotic.
I agree with that. I remember, again, the early days of gimbal, and I was helping out with like this low budget short film or something like that, or it's like there was the question that was brought up was like, why bring out the gimbal if you're just doing a static shot? Like you bring the gimbal out for certain motions, and what's the motion that you need to have it? So no, even to like just basic film 101, it is kind of like something where it's like you need to have that motion for a reason, and not to mention just save the energy for everyone else in that bit there.
And there's also another thing that I see a lot of newbie videographers make. They don't play around with focal lengths. They think they can just get like a 16 millimeter lens and just shoot all their shots on 60 millimeters, but they don't understand that 60 millimeters distorts the subject when they're very close to them. So in other words, if you take a 60 millimeter lens and point it and have it very close to that subject's face, well, guess what? You just turned your subject into Humpty Dumpty.
Yep, not the most flattering kind of unless it's like a group shot or really trying to show the entire like scenery. Yeah, it is. Yeah, 60 millimeters like a lens I do not bring too often unless I really want to try to emphasize space.
Okay. Oh, this is very fun. I'm just roasting these newbie mistakes.
No, exactly. And that just and again that just happens with their
Okay, and also the other thing is not giving good direction. Like if you don't give clear direction to your subject, they're just going out there and they have no idea what the hell they're doing, and it just makes them look really, really bad for a video. I've seen a lot of clips where the subject just stands there and does absolutely nothing, not even a simple movement. And I usually tell people when they do CMVs, try to have your subject do at least something, because even the most tiny movements that could still work. Like even let's say there was this model who was like dressing up in a dress, even like doing like a movement like this, or maybe like turning their head, or maybe like having a big smile, like going into a big smile, having that sassy look. That does make a difference.
that little smirk,
instead of just doing
that little smirk or something like that.
Yeah, that little smirk. That does make a difference, and that is absolutely acceptable for a video.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, when posing subjects, even if the subject is not very good at posing, even have them doing the most simplest poses, that actually still works.
You just work on
that's something I always tell every single person who does CMVs. Have them do at least a pose.
You just try to add the dynamic aspect to these simple poses and all that stuff.
Yep, exactly.
Where it's just a close up, or either the turn, the 360 turn, if you will, into that pose or something like that. So perfect. So before we sort of start wrapping things up, oh, did you have something?
Oh yeah. There's one more thing.
No, continue, please.
And there's a reason why I have a ring light over here. Lighting.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people F this one up, to say the least. I think the biggest offenders is when people shoot a cosplayer against the window and we can hardly see them. Or they shoot in a very darkened area with very little ambient light.
Yeah, you could
try. Where did the cosplay go?
You could try to be a cinematic A24 or what have you indie project, but especially for it is that little bit where it's like there's only a certain limit, because even for A24 they still got to have that like vintage look, but still got to make sure the basics, like you got to make sure that there's some sort of clarity into the frame, if you will.
Yeah, so I say the biggest annoyances is when people are shooting against a very, very bright light. So let's say they're shooting indoors, but they have a very bright window behind them. Unless if your goal is to get a silhouette shot, that doesn't really look flattering.
Mm-hmm. So before we get into the wrap-up questions, I have one more question left for you. What's been the hardest lesson you've learned on your videography journey?
Everything you say on social media matters. And sometimes you have to be smart with what you post on social media, because people can perceive it very, very differently. And that's something that I had to learn the hard way in certain situations, when it comes to, very, very touchy subjects. Because you can say one thing one day, but then several days later, you may think of something different. So the one thing that I had to learn myself is that sometimes your thoughts, they may not be the thoughts that truly describe who I am. Sometimes a thought could come because of a certain situation, or something may have happened that made you say something like that. But the thing I had to learn was anything you post on social media, they can be interpreted in so many different ways, and it's always tough because people take things very, very differently than what you intend. So just talking about like like very important topics in the convention scene. Like even though it's your intention to stay positive, other people may not think of it that way. So that's why for any creator, it's always important to be extremely careful and know what the room is like before you even post anything on social media. And I felt that lesson, that was probably the biggest lesson I had to learn myself, because anything you do on social media could potentially have consequences. And that's something that some people may not even realize yet until it hits them.
Oh, fair. So that's definitely a good one to end on, Justin. And God knows, yeah, that is definitely something that is always a make or break for some accounts. God knows, like I've definitely myself have thought, oh, in my postings, you know, thinking like something in lighthearted, but to someone else, text is always a difficult format to address things in, and it could always be difficult. But no. But anyway, thank you, Justin. Good point to stand on is that, you know, we are videographers, we are social media contenters, but it is that bit where, you know, we want to try and make content in the world, but it is always that bit where gotta always take a little step back and think before we jump. But no, I want to say thank you so much again, Justin, for a great stream as well, for your great insights into the world of cosplay music videos, to con traveling, to food, and such. Got a few more questions left for you. Are there any fun projects that you have planned in the near future?
Okay, so as you can see from this video where I was pretty much being lazy doing the edit, I have 3 new videos coming up.
Oh, do you want me to switch to full screen? Because I switched it to the 2-person thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, now you're on full screen.
So I got 3 video projects I'm working on. This is KitsuneCon in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I also got a video of DokidoCon in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And to wrap it up on this Throwback July is a video from Anime Iowa. I haven't been back in this convention since 2016. So I was just really, really excited to come back after 9 years to finally make a video at the event.
Exciting right there.
So these videos will be out on YouTube. I'm hoping to get these out this weekend, and also next week as we get into Otakon, which is going to be the next convention.
Oh, nice.
Do you want me to talk about the next conventions I'm attending?
Yeah, because that is in aligned with the fun projects they have planned. So yeah, sure. Let's talk about your lineup, because I was gonna say you got 10 left in this year, correct?
Yep, and I got 4 in a row coming up.
So do you want to explain those?
Okay, so next week I'm going to be attending Otakon in Washington, D.C. This is going to be my 6th year attending, so looking forward to that. Following that is going to be Fan Expo Chicago in Rosemont, and then Anime Magic in Rosemont. And then at the end of the month, as we get to Labor Day weekend, I'm going to be attending my very, very first convention in the state of Texas called San Japan.
Nice.
In San Antonio, Texas.
Nice. So a good lineup there. And then where can everyone tuning into the stream can find you on social media?
All right, you can find me on Instagram at Justin Panetta Media, and also on YouTube, which is also at Justin Panetta Media. I know I've been recently releasing a new reel series called Cosplay Spotlight, and the way it works is that I make a poll asking what you want the next day's cosplay spotlight, and your only options are just clues that lead to what I'm actually presenting. So it's up to you to decide which one you want to see presented, but you'll never know who the person is. They're only getting.
So just like little hints would be like a characteristic of this character or something like that, correct?
Yep, and that's a real series that I'm doing on Instagram, and I'm trying to get that on YouTube as well, doing the same exact format.
Also, like
on YouTube Shorts,
letting people decide on what to decide on to be posted, or is it just more focused?
This is all chosen by the people.
Oh, chosen by the people themselves. Perfect. And
I see a lot of people are very surprised.
No, it's like I say, yeah, you've been doing this for how many weeks now? You've been kind of running it through it.
Pretty much for the whole month of July.
Oh yeah? Nice. So yeah, so anyways, any last words you want and thoughts you want to wrap up on before we close out?
Be kind to one another, and always support everyone regardless of what your views and differences are.
I love that perfectly. So again, Justin, thank you so much for being our seventh guest. Yeah, seventh guest for this year. And again, the insight that you've brought to it, a little change into the formats as I loved. And yeah, and can't wait to see the next CMVS they have. So thank you again so much. And can't wait to see.
Thank you so much for having me, Eric.
Perfect. So we'll start wrapping up over here. But yeah, no, again, thank you again to Justin for being again a wonderful guest. Some little quick wrap up notes that he said that how he got a lot of influences on his early days of videography from just simple YouTube channels, whether it was convention reviews or full-time filmmaker, which I think I might be subscribed to, or I might have seen their videos. I can't recall, but that nothing wrong with, like, you know, taking inspiration and ways to improve on your work, and especially for traveling to these conventions. Never wrong to be smart with your money and budget whatever you can, whether it is conventions that you're going to. If you're booking for a hotel room, never hurts to have extra people on hand. God knows, like, I'm going to Gen Con this weekend, and some of the people are happy that even though I'm staying one night, I am helping to reduce their costs no matter what. Meal prepping is also a good, nice key thing, so you not have to pay too much. Along with if you are a frequent user of any hotels or airplanes, make sure that you have a account with them, and maybe you have a credit card, because even though you might be paying a subscription, that money will go back to you however you can. And especially when you go to conventions, always ask around if you're attending for the first time to get some ideas of any potential locations. But at the same time, just go with the flow. Just enjoy it and do what you can. Maybe sometimes attending meetups are always a good way to network and meet with people there if you want to get some sort of content. And when things don't work out, just make the most of what you can. And as always, especially with any sort of like field of creativity, it's always improvisation. Whenever things go wrong, you got to improvise. Think of a new solution there. And again, be mindful of what and be open to whatever you post any sort of videos, content we've had, and learn from whenever you post to improve upon them. Be that person that everyone wants to come to. Be open, be mindful, be kind, because again, that'll attract people to come back and to return. If even if you're not the most perfect person, people will always enjoy someone who accepts their mistakes and is often able to laugh it out. And plan to shoot as if you're going to edit, because that helps you with your turnaround time. And especially, I love the references to RPGs that he threw in there. For example, like, especially for photographers, it is us to carry so much equipment, but again, we don't want to be encumbered to overwhelm ourselves with so much gear, just to weigh us down as much as possible. But yeah, so again, thank you so much to Justin as well for helping out with today's stream, to being a wonderful guest. I'm not sure what the schedule is going to be next week, because I know there's a bunch of things popping up. I'm sure either will be a little bit of photo editing or some video gaming here and there, but I'm sure I'll keep everyone updated in due a time. Now, the question is there anyone doing any photo editing right now? That's the other question. I'm like, I'm looking through my sources right now. I'm like, is there anyone? Of course, I see people with the photography tag doing gaming and all that stuff. If not, I think that we'll just be able to wrap it up there. So, but yeah, thank you for everyone for hanging around, for lurking, to Bunny Waifu, to Derpy Love, to Neffy Moon for the follows, to Horseman Sam for the resubscription, and everyone else just hanging around and just chatting, just making these streams as fun as they can be. But yeah, so thank you everyone for being another part of this. Be safe.